All right, all right, all right. Hopefully, the stinger played the audio for you viewers. Welcome to the show. That stinger brought to you by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Chris. Well done. Say hi.
Hi,
What's up?
you're welcome.
That stinger's dope, dude.
Well, you kept on moaning that I'd made one for Mondays and then removed the date, so
I did not moan about shit.
you've constantly moaned. I've got proof. It's in every episode.
It is not. You lie. Lies. All
That's
lies.
right. Well, I'll make a YouTube video of just all the times you've moaned about the stinger being the wrong date. I'll make a good 20-minute video there.
Fuck you. So what's up, buddy? How are you?
No better. Better than the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
I'm starting to get myself back out of that wee rut, so
Starting to get sorted.
yeah, starting to get sorted, starting to get my own shit together. Like, fucking showered today.
Wow.
Everything was going fucking great. There we go.
We're special today. You're
I
shouting.
made an effort.
I tried. Sometimes that's all that matters. Yeah, man.
Well,
Welcome,
that's it.
welcome to episode 13 of this shit show. God damn.
Yeah.
Now we're officially a Baker's Dozen. Last week we were a dozen. Now we're a Baker's Dozen. Holy fuck.
Oh, we're
not
actually
canceled
starting to. I think it's because I literally delete everything you say on the podcast when I upload it to Spotify and stuff. So I think that's what's keeping us steady.
I knew there was something going on. I listened to last week's and I'm like, why ain't I talking? I knew I said something.
I know. As far as Spotify and Apple are not concerned, it's just a one-man podcast where I just sound as if I'm talking to myself.
You just react to shit I say and everybody's like, does this man hearing voices? What the fuck?
That's it. It's just the voice in my head. That's that drunk little voice.
What does that say about you if the voice in your head is a fucking American from the Midwest?
No, I'm not really that intelligent.
Oh, hey, fuck off. Right there, homie. Right there. Oh, it's good to see you back in better spirits, buddy. I know last week you were struggling.
Yeah, no, it's just been like I've literally just been off work. I've literally went, fuck you, work. And I've been playing Banished, I've been playing City Skylines, I've just been chilling. I've been watching, like, this tells you how my week's been. I've been watched Critical Role and I'm on like episode 89 of campaign 2. I've just been fucking battering right through everything
Just powering through that bitch.
because I've just stopped giving a fuck. Everything else is just put on the shelf. I just sit in my room, I drink, I eat, and I watch telly.
Fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. So you get phone calls off other people, and like literally, I have not had my phone off silent for the last week and a half. Just see if somebody messages. See when I'm good and ready and I look at my phone, that's when you'll get a reply. Other than that, I took a nap today.
You inconsiderate bastard!
I've just been going, do you know what? It's all about me.
It must be nice. But
It is, it's really good.
to be fair, sometimes you gotta fucking do that.
Oh, definitely. Like, you need to have your thing. Like, this is one thing that I keep on, like, talking about is I've been in relationships where we've done everything together. I've been in kind of friendships where it's been constant going, and then I've been in work situations where it's been constant going. So you need to have your own time. It's no bad selfish. You need to be selfish in a lot of things, and one thing is happiness. Like, you're in control of your own happiness. Don't put that shit on somebody else because it's no their problem. So you take care of yourself. If you want to take time off, you take fucking time off. At the end of the day, you're just a number to most people, so
Right.
don't push yourself. Don't overwork. Don't do stuff that you don't want to do. You just fucking do what you want. You use your vacation time, like, because that's what it's there for. Enjoy yourself. Be happy.
Yeah, didn't Will Smith make a comment about that? He said, it's not my job to make you happy. It's our job to be happy together, or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that have made that sort of correlation. Is that at the end of the day, putting your happiness on somebody else is selfish.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their problem. It's like, it can go the other way. It's like if I turn around to you and go, it really upsets me when I see you upset. That's like such a shitty thing to put on you, because it's then you have that, oh, if I show him that I'm upset, it's going to upset him.
Right.
I'd rather you go, if you're upset, come to me. We'll sort it there. Like that's how you deal with that. You don't put your happiness onto somebody else or make it their burden, because you've got your own problems. So everybody else's problems shouldn't then be put onto you.
Agreed.
But you take care of yourself. You take care of your happiness, because if you make yourself happy, everybody else has time to make themselves happy themselves and not have to deal with you.
Yeah, so, that's a tough lesson for a lot of people to learn, though. Is like, your happiness is your responsibility, not your partner's.
Yeah, because it's doomed for the start.
Yeah, that's a rough one for some people, because they grow up expecting, like, they grow up in an environment where, like, they see the mom catered to or the dad catered to, and they expect that's what a relationship is, and a lot of times they're not taught that their happiness is their responsibility. Like with me, me and Bernadette, like every once in a while I'll be like bored, and I'll be like, oh, I'm bored, and I'll go like lay on her lap. Hi, what's up? Hey, Sammy.
Goodbye.
Oh, you leaving?
Yes. Can I steal a tea?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
I get a smooch on the cheek though.
Mwah.
Thank you, Sammy. It was nice seeing you.
Yep.
Yeah, they're like, yep, moving on. Stealing Dad's tea. Anyway, sometimes like I'll get bored or I'll get sort of despondent, and I'll just kind of like wander around and lay at Bernadette's feet like the dog, and I'll be like, I'm bored. And she'll be like, go do something. I'm like, but I don't want to. And she'll be like, it's not my job. I'm like, damn. Then I'll go skulk off.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't do things together. That like, it's like a complicated kind of situation of that somebody else shouldn't be responsible for your happiness,
right?
But you should show enough open-mindedness to be able to like do things that could help your partner have enjoyment. Like, it might not be your thing, but give it a go, be open-minded, try it, because you might end up enjoying it yourself. But if you try it and you don't like it, then you have the control of going, look, I really don't like that. Because, like, me personally, if I take something, like, I have an eclectic fucking things that I enjoy doing. So, like, if I was to take somebody fucking bike racing because I enjoy it, and they're like, look, I really don't like it, I'm cool with going, right, no, that's cool, that can just be my thing. I'll go and do that myself. You go and have your time, and then we'll come back and we can talk about how fucking great and we've been feeling because we've been doing our own thing. Yeah, like, that's I enjoy things like that. So it's nice to share in those. Like, if you find somebody that you can share in the things that you enjoy, then ace. But at the same time, you don't want to put too much pressure on it and too much focus that that's what it has to be, because everybody's unique. Everybody's got their own enjoyments and hates.
Yeah. Last night I did something I normally wouldn't do. Like, I wrapped up streaming, and you know, it was like 2:00 in the morning, and I came upstairs and I'm like, oh, okay. And B was still awake, and she was watching a movie, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't like that movie, but I'll lay down next to you because I want to be next to you. And then I laid down, and I like, after 5 minutes, I'm like, I can't do this. I don't like, I'm gonna fall asleep, and I don't want to, you know, ruin your movie because I'm gonna talk shit about it. So I went upstairs. I'm like, whenever your movie's over, come up to bed and we can hang out or whatever. And like years ago, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just laid there miserable. Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It was like Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken or some shit. Some movie from the 90s. I'm like, nah, it's not my bag. But a couple years ago, I would have laid there and been annoyed and bored and watched it because, it's what she wanted. But last night I was like, I'm not feeling it. I'm going to go to bed. And I went upstairs and I watched YouTube for like an hour and a half, and then she came to bed, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we talked for a few minutes, and then we went to sleep, and I was like, I kind of felt guilty because I'm like, I should have went down there and watched the movie, but then on the other hand, I'm like, I got the bed to myself.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like again, you have to have like your own time. Like in that instance, if B's been working her 3 jobs and then dealing with the kids and the housework and stuff like that, like she deserves her own time as well. Yep. So if I know a lot of people can look at it and go, do you know what? If I go and sit there, or I'm going to do sit and talk shit, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it's going to ruin for them, so I'll just take myself out the equation. In some cases, you're like, oh, it's the only time we could have got together. Yeah. But at the same time, if the only time that you've got to kind of just chill, why would you spend that very limited time being miserable?
Yeah. That was kind of my thought process last night. I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and just chillax and watch stupid YouTube videos and meme review and shit like that. I was like, I ended up falling asleep. I knew I was gonna fall asleep if I laid on the couch watching a movie I had no interest in. And I'd have just been snoring through the movie, and she'd have just been staring at me like, why the fuck am I with you again? So yeah, I get it. I agree with what you're saying, 100%. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Oh, what are you drinking? Like last week, we forgot to say what we were drinking, I think.
No, we definitely
did. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, because what was it I drink?
The peanut butter and jelly one? No.
No, that was a couple of weeks ago. I can't quite remember, but we definitely, because it was on the docket and it's in the episode. But I am drinking a London Beer Factory beer. It's called Sour Solstice. It's a blood orange and cranberry sour.
Nice.
And it's one of the ones, it says on it that the classic Berliner Visa coincides with 2 solar phenomena in seasons, tart cranberry and with aromas of blood orange, and my fucking god, is it tart. Like, I tried it just before stream because I like to at least have some form of reviewability, and I think my face was like a black hole where everything just got fucking sucked in itself, because it has definitely got that sour, sharp sort of bang, right, hits every fucking part of your tongue, but it's one of the most refreshing beers that I've had. Yeah. Like, it just seems to fucking cleanse everything up, and it's so fucking good. And it's no one that I know, like I made shit about you when we were just talking before we actually went live, about how you don't get fruity beers in the UK because we can drink and handle actual beer.
Right.
So it's been a while since I actually found one, and I seen it, and I thought, you know what, let's go down the Dox route and go with a fruity one, and it's nice. Like, I don't
not every beer I drink is fruity. Fuck off.
Like, what ones have you had that's fruity that you've enjoyed?
Matilda. I had the Matilda. I had the Outboard.
I'll reiterate, what ones that weren't fruity did you enjoy?
I had the Goose Island Matilda. That was really good. I had the Kentucky Cream Vanilla Barrel Ale, the Vanilla Ale. That one was really good. Yeah. And vanilla's not a fruit, fucker!
I know. Come on, you fuck.
And then I had the Bell's Bright White. That was really good.
Is that the cream soda like one?
No, it was the Indian Ale.
Oh, right, the one that you didn't really enjoy because you don't really like Indian Ale.
Then I had the Viking's Blood. That's not fruity. That's mead.
Which is made from fermented what?
Hops, hibiscus, and honey. Goddammit.
Honey, which comes from flowers, which is technically a fruit.
You know what? Fuck off. I've had plenty of beers that aren't fruit. Goddammit.
Right, so what's your top 3 drinks that you've had? You've had the mead, that's like your number 1.
Viking's Blood. Viking's Blood is number 1.
Fruity. You had your raspberry beer.
Hey, don't hate. The pomegranate beer was good too. I had the hard root beer, right?
Yeah. Mm.
So my top 3 of everything we've drank so far has got to be the Vikings blood.
Delicious.
What?
Fruity and delicious.
It's the Vikings blood. It's the fucking vanilla Kentucky vanilla barrel aged cream ale, and that fucking Goose Island Matilda I had last week.
I just want to reiterate that before we went live, you were giving me shit for ordering ice cream and wanting to watch a sad movie. Yet you're the manly man that can't handle beer.
I'm drinking beer now! Shut up!
Wait, said it.
I'm drinking the Fox River Valley Blueberry Ale.
Blueberry.
Oh, you're an ass.
Before we derail too much, it is actually enjoyable. I don't think I could drink it like a 6-pack in one night.
Right.
It's definitely one of the ones that it's almost similar to a cider. It's got that tart bitterness of like a dry cider.
Right.
So it's one of the ones. It's a kind of night starter. You'd have 1 or 2 at the beginning of your night, and then you'd start hitting into your beers. Then you'd start hitting your hard stuff, and you start drinking anything that's got alcohol in it.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a night starter, I would say. That's how I'd go with that one.
Yeah. As always, the lawyers in the corner are giving me the evil eye. If you are listening to the show or watching the show live or watching the show on VOD and you are joining us for a drink, please make sure you are of legal drinking age for your region or area, and make sure you please drink responsibly. Do not text and drive. Do not drink and drive. That's the legalese. Fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
But
and by legal drinking age, we mean the government issued legal drinking age, not the drinking age that you deem responsible, as in like in Scotland you start drinking at 12. That is not legal drinking age, even though it's normal.
12? Shit, I got cousins that started drinking when they were 8.
Aye, but you don't say that.
Yeah, because my cousins are...
No, you don't say that on stream. You say 12, because at least 12, you've started high school, and it's at least, like, you're
not
being
over
rebellious.
here. Not over here. You're still in middle school.
We hit high school when you're like 12, 13, and then you just, like, you say that's
dude,
when you start.
I
start drinking at 5 when you get your first dumpy. With a fucking tit on the top.
I grew up in the Northwood. I grew up in fucking Upper Michigan. Trust me. Dude, you're lucky the formula ain't spiked with bourbon.
Upper Michigan, we've got a badass out here.
No, I love Upper Michigan, but I hated living up there, man. There's nothing there. There's 3 things to do in Upper Michigan, and y'all are gonna cringe. 1, you drink. 2, you hunt. 3, you fuck. Not necessarily in that order. That's it. That's all you do in Upper Michigan. Maybe you occasionally fish and maybe ride an ATV, but that's it. All my cousins are like, fuck you, Docs. Y'all know it's true. I mean, fuck off.
That's it. I mean, we don't tend to hunt animals up here. There's other activities. It's the third activity that we tend to do.
Exactly. Poor sheep.
Like, if they didn't enjoy it, they wouldn't come around.
Exactly. So, we know what you did all week, Mr. I'm just going to play video games and watch telly. Yeah, order myself a milkshake.
And what have you been drinking?
What have I done? I went to work. I went to stream. I did the dad shit. I did the dog dad shit. I did the boyfriend shit. I packed the house shit. I've been working, son. What you been doing? You on holiday over there. You on holiday over there.
Exactly. I'm taking a fucking break before I go on a murderous rampage.
Here lies Chrissy C90. His kilt got in a bunch, and he murdered a bunch.
Yeah, it was close. I thought about it.
Yeah, right.
Like, my mate, I've already told him that I've got 74 ways that I was going to kill him.
Nice. Only 74?
12 of them included me using a bottle.
A bottle where the sun don't shine, maybe.
That was only 2 of them.
Oh. Only 2? I'm disappointed in you.
No, there's other ones. There's other orifices.
Well, then we know where
There's
Chris
other
is.
places that ball can go, and one in particular would be a stretch.
Dude, speaking of that one, I heard of a torture method, and see, this is what happens in the opening round. We just tangentialize everything. So, there's a torture method I heard about for that one, right? You take a very thin glass rod. You then whoopity-doo into whoopity-doo, and then you smash it with a hammer.
Why?
Because it's a torture method. Because then when they pee,
just use the hammer. What's the glass part? Like, that's the torture enough.
Because once you break the glass and they go pee, you find out what I mean.
Once you smash anything there with a hammer, the peeing's going to be difficult anyway. You don't need glass in there, I know. That's overkill.
I know.
That's like a character having 10 fucking health points left, and you going, I'm going to use this thing that kills you with 50.
You
like,
ultimate him.
That is.
You drop the ulti on him when he's only got 10 hit points. And you get...
I know, like a fucking middle finger flick to the fucking tip, it's torture enough.
Yeah, right?
Like, fucking hell.
Oh, that's fucking hell, man. That's nuts. Oh,
right,
my
well,
God.
apart from learning weird sexual things that you enjoy, what are you drinking tonight?
I don't enjoy it. We haven't even talked about the shit I enjoy yet. Trust me, it's a weird basket that no one wants to hear about. I am drinking the fucking Fox Valley River Blue Bobber Ale I drank a couple weeks ago because it's all I had and I didn't get a chance to go to the store.
Oh, so
and it's good, goddammit! Shut up!
To be honest, like, I actually had to go to the store and just buy this one can because I thought I've not got any beer left. I need to go and get a drink. And I was supposed to send you the websites. So we'll do that for next week.
I had 2 left, so I'm like, oh, I got an episode of, I got this podcast. And then when I go shopping on Friday, because I get paid on Friday, I got to go to the grocery store. I'll just take a bunch at the store because it'll be me and whatnot. So yeah, but I had like 2 beers left and I forgot they were the same thing. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Good shit though.
I meant to message you and say, right, here's my things. Tell me what you fancy, but it just didn't work for me, and because I was too busy being lazy.
Yeah, I was swamped this week, man. We had work was nuts, and then just everything with the getting ready for the move and everything was just kind of crazy. So I was running behind. Like this week, I was running behind, and then this week I'm hoping like, all right, let's just say we had some drama that I had to deal with this week, and I'll get into it in the ramble, not in great detail or whatnot, but that kind of took up a lot of my mental capacity to adult. So yeah, I'm hoping to like kind of get back on the ball. What kind of sucks is I have a trainer at work this week, so I can't like slack off.
You actually have to do work.
I gotta actually be responsible.
God forbid you have to actually do something during your day.
Yes, we drink whiskey, Bilbo.
Oh, whiskey. It's like the thing,
right?
Drinking.
I do. I don't have any at the house, but I do if I go out for a drink.
Like that. That's basically all whiskey up there,
except for the Slavovice in the back.
Oh, the Slovici's right at the front, and I've got my liquor 43, and then I've got like my schnapps and vodka. Actually, the vodka's sitting here waiting for my fucking slush puppy. Jura is nice. I like Jura. I like the Viking edition of Jura, and I like the 18-year-old Jura. 21-year-old Jura's alright, but it's not as good as the 12-year-old.
I haven't tried it yet.
No.
Jura's
nice. Again, if like, I'm still going to send you a bottle of I can't even remember the name. Slipped my mind, but it's the one that's local to me. No, I'll send you. I have to send you that. That's more a liqueur. That's a honey liqueur as opposed to like a whiskey. But there's a whiskey distillery just up the road, kind of like 20 minutes away, and their 21-year-old is like Christmas in a bottle. Like nice. It's got spices and it's just It's such a smooth fucking whiskey.
That's trouble.
It's just perfect.
That's trouble in a bottle right there. Oof.
Oh, it is like it's one of the best 21-year-olds you'll get, plus legal.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, speaking of something new, seeing as how you guys are, those of you that are listening along or watching with us, up in the corner over there above Chris is the website that is live. DrunkTank-hyphenated.com, baby. You can get the podcast, you can stream the podcast from that website. You can reach our Twitch and Twitters from that website. Like, we're live. Chris has been crushing it on the business front, man. Dude, like I said, when we started this thing, man, you have taken the reins on the business side where I'm talent and
Well, it's one of the
editing.
ones, as you seen earlier when I was a car's just drove into my street with a music on. As you'd seen when I was trying to work and see if the stream would work the day, I am not in the position of streaming, so I might as well take the slack of everything behind the scenes and get the production up a bit. But
right.
No, I'm happy with the website. The website seems to, like, every day I go there and just go, look what I have created.
I know, I stare at it too.
Like, it just looks so perfect and beautiful, and slowly but surely we will start adding the extra bits, like we've got like the streaming partner side of it, where I'm hoping to be able to get a lot more. Like, a lot more features for it. Yeah, I'm wanting to create the community on it. Like, I want to be able to, like, we've got like the streaming partners. I want to be able to make or create a, like, drunk tank productions. I want to make a system where that we can offer something to the kind of the lesser known streamers, the small streamers, the ones that put in the work as well, that don't get the kind of views that they should get. If I want to create a community where that can all be shared, that can be, it's a platform that we can put forward for everybody. That's the kind of basis. It was the same on the YouTube. Hell's Phoenix had commented on last week's episode with some really nice points.
Yeah, I gotta check those. I haven't popped by the video this week yet.
Yeah, well, she was asking about how, if there's a chance that, like last week you were talking about the tigers and that, and we were like, we were timing about having videos and that. She was saying if there's a possibility of being able to put them on screen and show the video parts of things, which could technically be done.
Yeah.
And I'd say to her that it's something that we have kind of talked about, is having that sort of news-esque sort of feel where we can show, like, the likes of like DMCA, and that is where the issue lies.
Yeah, that's the trick with it.
The copyright kind of thing. But I mean, as we've said before, we do have a lot of kind of like high future plans of how we want to kind of go down with this kind of this side of stuff. So it's always nice. The bit that I just like is that it's nice to see people out there that comment on things that it gives you that kind of show that people are actually interested in it, people are actually watching it, people are seeing it and going, well, what about this for an idea? It's nice having that sort of feedback.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that engagement. People are actually engaging with us on it. So it's something that you and I have talked about, like maybe showing the video segments or chunks of the video segments. But yeah, DMCA with Twitch and YouTube is kind of a shit show right now. So until that sort of like peters out, or if we can, like, I know once you get up higher in like the Twitch hierarchy and the YouTube hierarchy, things tend to get easier. But right now where we're at, the DMCA is really kind of like a sword that hangs over a lot of what we do. And I think it's a great idea. And you and I have discussed it before. I even had an idea of doing like a separate scene where you and I are camera stacked, and on the other side is the video that we're discussing sort of plays on mute. So, but yeah, it was something that you and I talked about a little bit ago, but I do like the engagement that we've gotten from it.
Yeah, no, it has been quite good. I mean, like, as I said, there's plenty of kind of ideas that we've had floating around that if we can eventually get to thing, like as we say, one of the things that I'd eventually like this to become is similar to more of a talk show as opposed to the podcast kind of thing, where like we have guests and we have our own stories to kind of put out. Like we can, like, you never know, 5 years time we could have our own fucking TV production company where we've got talk shows and podcasts and streaming platforms and just
gaming
fucking
shows.
hitting everything.
Oh yeah, exactly. 100%.
Like, can you imagine us having a game show?
Ooh,
like
it's gotta have awesome. Some sort of humiliation element to it.
Yeah. Right, 2 wee seconds. I think that's my ice cream.
Look at you! You just did a little dance.
It's the ice cream and happiness dance. That's what that is. Right, give me 2 wee
all right,
seconds.
Go get your ice cream because that'll segue to our actual topic.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to just blank out my camera because I don't want to have.
Look at this unprofessional shit. I'm gonna blank out my camera.
What? Look how professional this is. Boom.
You're an ass.
Right, I'll be 2 seconds.
But yeah, I'll vamp. Sure, I'll vamp when you go get ice cream, Chris. That's fine. But on a serious note, the website is live. We do have plans for it. You can listen to the podcast right from the website if you don't want to do a Spotify. We are going to have featured videos from our streaming partners up there. We've become our own little production company. We're going to be Drunk Tank Productions. We're going to try and raise up other streamers and content creators once we get to a point where we can do that. We've got a lot of plans. We were talking about community game nights amongst our streaming partners and so many things we got going on. But aside from what we were talking about, there's a lot going on. Chris and I have been having conversations with doing series on YouTube together. We're talking about doing a football manager league. Chris and I are talking about doing a cooking stream. We were gonna do it this weekend, but I got so busy I couldn't send him an ingredients list. So we've got a lot of ideas for what we want to do with Drunk Tank Productions for a podcast and stuff. Look, he's back. Was it your ice cream?
Uh-huh.
Look at your face. He's like, ooh.
But I'm sitting here going, I think I ordered way too much. Because I've got my milkshake, my sundae, and my slush puppy that needs vodka in it.
That needs vodka. Needs more vodka. Otherwise, it's not slushy from Mother Russia.
I know. Well, funny enough, I've got Russian standard vodka.
Do you?
Yeah. None of the cheap shit.
I once knew a Russian guy. He came over here. He was a Russian foreign exchange student for a buddy of mine. And I asked him, what's good vodka in the States? And he goes, Stoli. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, Stoli style. I'm like, what? There's no fucking way that Stoli's good vodka. He's like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, you got all these other vodkas? He goes, no, it's shit. Stoli's actually Russian. I was like, but is it good Russian vodka? He goes, it's Russian vodka.
See, that's the thing that I've got with this is I've got Russian standard, which is genuine Russian vodka.
Nice.
But
what's the horsepower?
38%.
That's not bad. So what? 75 proof.
Oh fuck knows. We don't have proof. We just have percentage.
The way you figure out proof is the way you figure out proof is you basically double the percentage.
Oh well.
So if it was
40%,
so 40% would be 80 proof.
Oh, so my ginger wine's 30 proof then?
Yeah.
Interesting. But I once dated a Russian girl. Well, she was half Russian. Her dad was Russian. Her mum was Scottish, so she was
she was really interesting.
She was Rustish.
Rustish.
But her dad, honestly, all I got was fucking mafia vibes after this guy. It was the stereotypical sort of short, fat, business suit
track
sort
suit
of Russian guy. No, it wasn't a tracksuit. It was proper brown suit. He always wore a brown suit. It was I thought he was cool. But at the same time, sorry, I dropped my straw. It was definitely terrifying, and I'd went out to her house a couple of times, like with just her, and then I went to meet the family, and like my mum was really nice, but he was just like terrifying. See that kind of way, like after you met him, I just always felt as if I was being watched. Like,
right.
See that kind of way, like you just feel as if there's some Russian guy just constantly following me in my everyday life now. But he had this. This was the coolest thing. I don't know if I've said this story on the podcast, but in his house, he had like it was a really nice house, which made you think he's been fucking selling something.
Right.
But you went into the kitchen, and in the middle of the kitchen was this big like circle, maybe a metre and a half diameter kind of thing. And he pressed a button and it literally rose up and it was a spiral staircase. And you went down this spiral staircase and it was basically like a 40 square metre chiller. And he had all his bottles of wine, he had all his bottles of vodka, all these different alcohol and all that. And we shared a vodka where they just drink vodka straight with ice, like a day with whiskey. But I don't know what this vodka was laced with, but I had one and was steaming. Like I was gone with
that
fucking
vodka was rocket fuel.
So
it's probably like, giving you rocket fuel.
Probably. Right, let's hope I don't spill this vodka. The thing with vodka is it melts the ice. Oh, fuck, that's far too much vodka. Oh, shit.
Well, it's no longer a slushy.
I mean, it is still a slushy, but it's like a vodka top because it's no mixing.
It's got to filter down.
Yeah. Which I don't like because you start drinking for the bottom and it's no hit there yet, so you just get all that, and then right at the end, it's just pure vodka you get hit with, and it's like it's not the funnest thing.
All right, so let's transition into their main topic, and I don't know how long we're gonna stick on this one because we're almost an hour deep. But let's talk about superstitions and rituals because you and I were talking about sports the other day. We were talking about football and whatnot, and then we were talking about some of the things that we do in our daily lives, which got me thinking about the superstitions and the rituals that we go through. So, it's an interesting thought when you think about your rituals. And what do you mean by rituals? Just the routine things that you do before you begin a project or cook something or play a sport or whatever. That's your ritual. And then what superstitions you got, like, you know, the things you do to avoid bad luck during those projects. So let's sort of jump into that a little bit. Like, what do you got for superstitions and rituals?
The thing where is I don't really have that many. I actually don't know if I have any, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, like thinking about it, I mean, I've done a lot of sports and I don't think I really had any, because to me, luck isn't a thing.
Right.
Like, to me, luck is an excuse that unsuccessful people made up to give them an excuse as to their failures. That's how I see luck is bullshit. Luck does not exist. Hard work is what required to make things happen. So, for me, like, there is things like I'll have rituals in that I've got like a playlist on my phone that if I'm going to be playing football or anything like that, I've got a playlist that I play and just get myself into the zone.
Right. So that's your warm-up ritual.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's a case of for a ritual for like superstitions or anything like that. Winning the lottery is just gambling. Like that's how it is. It's just a gamble, like, and it's no really a calculated gamble. But it's not really, because pure luck would be if there's zero odds. Like, there's no reason as to why it would happen, but there's always odds. So it's not luck. It's just if your gamble pays off.
Right.
It's like you put a bet on at the football, you put a bet on at the horse racing. It's no luck that the horse wins. It's that you gamble on the best one, kind of thing. That's how I see it. It's no like luck to me is just an out. Really, it's an excuse. As to why, like, it's like when you like people turn around and go like, "It's like, oh, he's really successful. He got really lucky." No, he didn't. He just sacrificed everything that he had and worked hard. Like, there was no luck in, like, Elon Musk didn't have luck to become rich. He created a company that took off because it offered a product that the public needed and wanted. And then he sold that company, and then he created other companies that the public need and want. Like, that's gambling. Like, that's calculated risk. So it's hard work that he's done. There's no luck involved in that. Like, if there was luck involved in it, you would have more people that got lucky like that way. But it's not.
You don't think that it was lucky that he hit with the type of company he hit at the right time, or do you think that's calculated risk?
No, I just think it was calculated that he's seen a market that was low and that was required, and he created that market.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. Is that there was something missing that the society needed. He created it.
Okay.
It's the exact same way that you can turn around and go like that, right? Amazon started as a bookstore. It was an online bookstore for students to get workbooks.
Yep.
That's how Amazon started. And then it grew and grew and grew because they seen the markets that were required and they worked into the markets. If it was luck, why is every other bookstore or online bookstore not that famous?
That's fair. So if you don't,
because it's the same thing, they've done the same thing, but how come it was because they advanced into other product markets to develop and offer other things. Like, once they got to the point where people didn't just want books, they then created a sort of eBay style thing where people bought and sold items, and then they developed into that they bought warehouse space where they purchased stock to then sell through Amazon.
Right.
That's why in some cases, if you go into Amazon, it's not always Amazon that's selling it. It's Amazon's a platform to sell. So Amazon are basically a bigger production than eBay.
Yeah, Amazon evolved into that selling platform than anything else.
So, like, eBay created that platform themselves, and eBay are successful in it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Amazon are less about that. They're more about that they have standards. They'll take people off their site if they're selling dodgy stuff. Whereas eBay don't. eBay's more still about the public.
Right.
Amazon's went a more private sales of, we'll allow you to use your platform to sell, but it will cost you money, and if you're no up to standards, we'll drop you.
Yeah, eBay reminds me of like a global swap meet.
Yeah, like eBay is just a higher productive Craigslist.
Yeah, pretty much. So
like,
if you don't believe, I don't mean to cut you off, but you made a point. You said that luck isn't a thing. So like you don't second guess if a mirror breaks. You don't avoid ladders at all. You walk right under them.
Breaks. All a mirror breaks means is that I'll need to buy a new mirror.
That's fair. I'm not big on that either. Like, if a mirror breaks, I'm not like, 7 years bad luck. Or if a black cat crosses my path, I'm like, come here, kitty, I want to pet you.
Yeah, like, when you consider just how many black cats there are in the world,
one of them's bound to cross your path.
Yeah, like, it's just like the way I see it is it's the same with a lot of things. It's like, one of the things I keep on bringing up when we talk about those kind of stuff is pregnancy, and where people turn around and go, oh, if you're pregnant and you want to induce labour, you go and eat spicy food. And it's like, no, what happened is a bunch of years ago, somebody was pregnant, they happened to eat a curry as they went into labour, and they've just went, oh, well, it's much more than a coincidence, and now if you want to induce labour, go and eat spicy food. When no, it was just that one time somebody ate spicy food and happened to just be at the moment their body was going to go in, like, because like it's a medical thing of that. When people say, oh, it's 9 months to deliver a child, there's other medical aspects that come into that play that means that it's not 9 months on the dot. When doctors and nurses give you a due date, that isn't a foolproof, 100% accurate that this is the day and time your body's going to go, right, we're ready. Your
Right.
body will go into it when it's ready.
Yeah.
It might be 3 days earlier, it might be 2 weeks later, because they can't pinpoint the exact moment. Like, it's all a science. It's just...
It's
That's the
calculated risk.
joy of science, is that science is ever evolving. It's ever not knowing, but trying to figure it out. Things change, aspects, like not two people are the same, so your body's going to be different. It's going to develop certain hormones differently. It's going to develop different chemicals differently that may or may not induce or slow down different aspects of your biology. So a lot of it for me is it's coincidences. I'm not saying, at the same time, I'm not saying that I'm one of these people that I'll turn around and go, don't be so fucking stupid. Like, if that's what you believe, then that's cool. It's not hurting me for you believing that. Like, it really does the dent into my life. Like, I'm happy enough to just be, well, this is my belief. If that's your belief, then cool. Have all the spicy food that you want. Like, enjoy yourself. Fuck it. But
So if superstitions aren't a big deal for you, what about urban legends? Like, do you worry about like I know you don't worry about an urban legend, but do they interest, like a superstition is like, oh, you break a mirror, a black cat, like you don't step on a crack, right? But then like the other flip side of a superstition is an urban legend. So like, the gators in the sewers of New York, the chupacabra of Mexico. What do you think of the urban legend side of it?
I think with the urban legends, it's a kind of two-way street. Actually, no, it's more a three-way street. Because, as of anything, there's a lot of things that happen that can technically be explained to a degree. Like, with the likes of the Chupacabra, there's so many reasons that it could have been. So, was somebody on drugs? Was it dark? Was because your mind plays tricks on you constantly.
Yes,
it's like you've seen it yourself. You can be walking down a hallway and you think you see a shadow in the back that looks like a person. Like, horror video games are fucking brilliant for that, of making things look like they're not, and you have to double check it, kind of thing. So, I don't think, like, there's urban legends where I believe have some truth to them.
Okay.
But I don't think it's the entire truth. But at the same time, I believe, like, in things like paranormal and stuff like that, I don't see it as it's spiritual or paranormal. Like, the way I see it is it's unexplained.
Okay.
Like, it's like, to me, paranormal activity is unexplained phenomena.
Okay.
Because if you can explain it, then it's no longer paranormal.
Makes sense.
But it's the phase of being unexplained that intrigues me, because it's the kind of scientist in us that kind of make you go, well, if you can't explain it, then perhaps there is truth to it. But have we developed every avenue that it could explain somehow? Like, if you are doing like a ghost hunt and stuff like that, and you're sitting in a room and the door starts opening, too many people immediately go, oh, fuck, a ghost has shut that door. Well, no, you need to go across. Is there a cross breeze? Is the door, like, put the door back and see if it does it again. Make sure that there's no drafts anywhere that's caused that to happen. If there's no debunking that can be done, it's unexplained. It doesn't necessarily mean it's spiritual or paranormal. It just means that it's an unexplained phenomena that it can or cannot be, kind of thing. And I think with urban legends, it's similar to many of them, I feel as if it's just through time, it's grew and grew and grew. Like the Chupacabra, it could have just been that it was a fucking coyote or a hyena that had escaped from a zoo.
Right.
Or something that somebody's seen, but over time it's developed into this whole urban thing. Like, no wanting to get religious or anything like that, but when you talk about, like, the Bible, to me the Bible was written for a lesser person. It wasn't written to be word for word
Right.
gone by. It was for a people that weren't as intelligent as we are today. That was what the Bible was wrote for, because if you consider like Mary and Joseph, like, yeah, you can, like, in one aspect you can be like, oh, it was a miracle birth and all that, or you could be like, well, actually it was an affair that they took the lie too far. Like, Mary's away shagging somebody else. No, I never touched anybody. God himself. Like, you can go down that avenue. Like, it's a lie. It's like, oh, Jesus walked in water. Was he, or was he just really good at ice skating?
Facts.
Like, so it's just, for a lot of these things, to me, there's an aspect that throughout the years and the decades and the centuries, it's like Chinese whispers. As they've went down the line, they've slightly been
Oh, you mean like
altered.
telephone?
Yeah, like we call it Chinese whispers.
Okay.
But,
yeah, we call it telephone.
It's just, as it's went down the line, it's just been altered, and wee aspects have been tweaked to make it sound as if it's this whole big thing.
Right.
When in actual fact, if you were there at it, it was the chupacabra was just a dog walked through the garden.
Yeah.
And the guy had never seen a dog before.
Yeah.
So I think until the things have been explained, then I'll accept that they are just myths, or that it might have happened. Like, I can't turn around and say no, it didn't happen. You're wrong, because like what right do I have in that? What scientific discovery have I have to prove that? So to me, it's more. I'm more about the explanation, like, as to why. If somebody can explain to me, like, if somebody turned around and had definitive proof that God existed, I would happily change my tune on it.
Right.
Because if I can be given the proof that it's real, everything that's been said in the Bible is true, then I'm open enough to go, right, no, that's cool. If that's the truth, then fine, that's cool. But until then, it's hard to time it.
Well, you bring up an interesting point with the religion, and I know we try to be neutral for the most part, but this show is about our opinions. And is religion not the ultimate superstition in a way?
I wouldn't call it a superstition. It's a faith. It's a belief system.
Right, I know, but like, what's a superstition? It's a faith and a belief that if you experience this phenomenon, X, Y, Z will happen, right?
Well, I think religion goes a little bit deeper than that for me. I think it's more like, when you talk to people about religion, there is some people that take it way too far and too real. But in other cases, religion is less of a superstition, it's more a belief system, in that it's a belief system where people find it easier to believe they gain strength and hope from a alternate being, like an all supreme being, when in actual fact it comes from themselves. Like, for me, I'm my own God. My strength and my hope and my belief comes from me.
Right.
Which is technically what God to different religions is. It's a being that grants you the strength to get through the tough days, the hope that eventually something good will come. It gives you that strength, and that's within you. But if believing in a higher power grants you that, then go for it, because you deserve that. You deserve that strength and that hope to get you through, because life is shit, life is tough. But it's the other aspects is, like anything, there's a minority that push it the wrong way.
Yep.
And make it more about, like, turning around and going, like, God in Leviticus says that homosexuality is abomination, and like, well, that's true, but also in the Bible it says that anybody that works the Sabbath should be sentenced to death. Why are you not pushing for that aspect? And that's in the Bible. Why are you not pushing that? It says once in the Bible that homosexuality is a sin, but it says 7 times that eating shellfish is a sin. But you don't hear these people crying and greeting about no eating prawn.
Yeah, that's the thing with
That's why I can't grip it. That's why I can't understand because it's like they're picking and choosing which parts they want to push,
I think,
which isn't Christian.
I think part of it, and like I said, I'm trying to tie it back to superstition and religion. I think cherry picking any type of faith or belief system is counterproductive to what the system of belief or faith is what it's trying to do. So basically, faith is a God hates crabs. Facts. I think when you look at the belief system and the way faith breaks down, it gets diluted and corrupted when organizational structures like churches and power structures like the Vatican and the Orthodoxy and the caliphates for Islam tend to become empowered with corrupt and negative people. I don't think that faith or belief is necessarily bad, and I call it a superstition because in a way you're using the faith or the icon of that religion as sort of a conduit to take a lot of stuff off your shoulders, out of your hands, out of your control, right? So the mistakes that happen, they're not your mistakes, they're God's will, right? Or they're Jehovah's will, or their Muhammad's will, whatever. So I think in a way, it's religion isn't necessarily a superstition much as it is a conduit of what's the word? Not deflection, because that's the wrong word.
I know what you're meaning. It's like it's an excuse to take away responsibility.
Yeah, and we're not saying
levels,
right. We're not saying that's a you're not like a bad person because you don't want to take that responsibility, because faith and belief does help a lot of people and it has done good. It's not all negative. What's negative about it is the organized issues of religion. The chatter in Dime Zero is like church versus church. Yeah, church small c, church big C. Exactly. You have the church, the faith of the people, and the belief of the people, and then you have the church. And I think that's where a lot of it comes down to it, because a lot of the negativity comes down because the church tries to muddy the water.
So I think it is. It's like, as I was saying, like with the point I was making on the fact that people use it as it's a belief system to give them strength and hope.
Right.
In that sense, like, I would say that's similar in your kind of point, in that if something doesn't go for them, they use God as an excuse of like the will of God, like. That wasn't like you weren't supposed to get that job. You weren't supposed to get that. Like, you're going through this rough part because God has a plan for you.
Right.
That I can see is a valid and justified position to have faith in religion. As you were saying, it's the people that use it as a reason to spread hate, a reason to spread corruption, a reason to use it as a power tool. That's where I draw the line in it of that is not using faith for the intended purpose. That is using faith in religion as a power move. And I can accept when people if people turn around and go, oh, I never got that job, but it's fine. I wasn't meant to get it. God has a plan for me. That's cool. But turning round and using God's voice as a reason to hate on homosexuality, or to hate on abortion, or to hate on this, or hate on that, hate on divorce. That's where it's like, and then another part is to hate on other religions. That is not the will of God. That is the will of people with power within religious beliefs. That has nothing. Like, you can read in the Bible that, like, no matter what you do in the Bible, there's an out for you. Like, it says, "Do or thou shall respect thy neighbor." but in another page it'll say eye for an eye. So like, no matter what you do, there's a justification in the Bible for it. To me, that's just an out that people use. But it's one of those things that when people use it to benefit themselves spiritually with strength and hope, that's how I feel. That's the part of religion that I can believe in. So it's a way of giving you the strength. But when people use it for evil and hate, that's why I think so many people are back offish of it. And I kind of attack it, is because you have this, and again, it's a minority. Like, that's the thing that annoys me, is so many people see one or two people saying things and immediately latch onto a whole fucking demographic for it, when it's a minority. It's like, you talk about veganism and everyone's like, oh, how do you know a vegan? It's like, well, no, because I have more people that talk about when they eat steak than somebody that talks about being vegan.
Yeah.
I was vegan for 6 months and none of you knew because I didn't discuss it.
Yeah, because it's not something that you proselytized.
Yeah, but in that 6 months, how many times did you bring up eating steak or cooking burgers? Or
I'm a carnivore because it's my daily life.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people attack vegans for how do you, they're constantly talking about constantly. No, there's a small minority of vegans that have a loud mouth because that's what the media give. The media give the wrong people the voice.
Yeah.
It's like the far right and the far left get their voice, but the people in the middle that just want to let everybody just do what they want, they're no bothering me, just keep it to yourself. That's what the majority want. We're all cool, like, oh, you're gay, that's awesome, be happy. Like, but the media give the voice to the wrong people.
Yeah, they let the assholes
immediately
speak.
Everybody goes, well, that's all of feminism, that's all of veganism, that's all of meat eaters, that's all of religion. No, like, that's not how it works. Like look at Muslims. Muslims are blamed for almost every fucking terrorist attack. No, it literally says in the Quran not to kill innocent children and women.
Yep.
So it's like,
yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
That is not the will of God. That is the will of a corrupt bunch of people that just want to spread hate. That is not the entire Muslim belief. If that was the case, I could turn around and go, all white Christian people are terrorists.
Facts.
Because the majority of the people that walk into schools and cinemas and malls and clubs and bars in America are white Christians.
You're not wrong there.
So why are we not hating on white Christians for being terrorists? Because that isn't the story that the media want to punt. That's not the story that these corrupt people want to induce. Because if a white person commits a terrorist act or a crime, they must have had mental problems.
Yep, I was about to bring up that point.
They must have mental problems. But anybody of any other race, colour, creed, sex, gender, sexual orientation does something and it's because they're evil. Like, that's not how this works. Like, I had a whole thing here in Glasgow during the pandemic, because we had immigrants coming in from other countries. A lot of hotels through the government initiative were kind of paid to let like homeless people and immigrants and that have shelter to get them off the streets for the pandemic. Right. And there was a moment where people were trying to claim it was a terrorist attack, in which a male from Sudan, so a black male from Sudan, who'd been here in one of the hotels, took a knife and stabbed like 2 other people, and then when the police showed up, he stabbed a police officer.
Right.
And people were thinking it's a terrorist attack, it was a terrorist attack. And what had actually came out, and it's one thing that I loved about the Scottish police system in that sense, is they came out and said it was not a terrorist attack. There's no other threat to the public. What had actually happened is, for 3 weeks, on 7 occasions, other members, because these people had been put into like rooms of 12. They weren't allowed to leave the hotel. They had to just stay in there.
Well, yeah.
They were in with people that they couldn't understand. They didn't talk the same language. They were handed food. that was just generic food that may have been against their religion. It may have been against their, like, even like you could have been lactose intolerant. They could have been vegan, but they didn't care. This is what the hotel would feed them. On 7 occasions, people went to management and said, this chap has got mental problems. He's got mental health issues and he needs help. And they kept on just passing off. And the guy ended up snapping.
Yeah.
But it was through mental health. But the media didn't want to claim it as mental health. It was just put down as a terrorist attack from an immigrant from Sudan. So I can't, no, it was a guy that was struggling. That's all it was. It was the same as me struggling. If I went out and killed 4 people because I had a bad week last week, nobody would have put it down as that I was a terrorist. They would have put it down that I had mental health issues.
Right.
And I snapped because I'm white.
Yeah, that to tangentially bring that around, you made a point like 20 minutes ago.
Sorry, I just opened one.
You're on a roll tonight. I like it. When you talk about like how you said people like telephone, they say, and like with the news saying it was a terrorist attack, that reminds me of an old saying. I don't know if it's here or over by you, but it's here. It says, "When the legend becomes fact, print the legend."
Right.
So, in a way, like you said, tangentially, because it was a Sudanese guy, they didn't care that it was a mental health issue. They wanted to paint it as a terrorist attack because, one, that will grab clickbait, that'll grab the clicks, that'll grab the views. Because talking about the fact that the dude was shoved in a room with 12 other people, didn't speak the language, didn't eat the food, was struggling. That puts fault on the management of the situation.
Yeah.
2, that puts fault on the hotel for not recognizing or making services available. And 3, that puts fault on the news for sensationalizing a tragedy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
and Dime Zero makes a really good point that's basically what it is that it's kind of the survival of the fittest, and they get to make the rules and they get to write the history. Like, they get to decide who the bad ones were and who the good ones were. Like, consider this, right? World War II, you had the Allies versus the Axis. The Axis of evil, right?
Yep.
It was the Nazis and the Germans versus the rest of the world.
And the Japanese, don't forget the Japanese.
Right? Yeah, well, the Japanese as well, right? Now, consider it this way, right? The German army, who, like the British and like the Americans, were called up from national service, right? Were put to war. See, if you look at it from the German standpoint, the British, the Americans, and the Allies claimed that the Germans were the evil ones.
Yep.
90% of the German army were 18-year-olds that had been called up. There was moments where some of the German army were kids that had been raised in America, but because their parents were German and had immigrated, were called up to the German army. In some cases, we were the bad people.
Yep.
We were the ones that went into Germany. And let's be honest, a lot of the times American and Britain aren't the fucking good guys, because they'll go in and do a lot of things to civilians and women and children. Like, we've got arseholes here as well.
Yeah.
Like, just because we are white Christians, we have rape, we have murder, we have theft. Like, why is it different when it's a foreigner? Because
there's You make a point, and I wanna. We kind of went off superstition and religion, but I like where this is, so we're gonna roll with this. You make 2 interesting points. One, yes, it's a not well documented fact that the German army and the Nazis were very different.
Yes,
like, not all German soldiers were Nazis.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay. So, in some ways, yes, like you said, some of the a major part of the German army were just German people who were called up to fight a war that they were drafted, they were called up to do. They were fighting invaders and doing what they were told to do. So, And a lot of them didn't ascribe to the Nazi rhetoric, right? So a lot of times in history, we lose the fact that German soldiers and Nazis were completely different. Nazis were the political party and the ruling sort of regime that held sway in Germany during World War II. The German populace weren't all Nazis. Exactly. So in some ways, yeah, we were the bad guys. And let's face it, I agree. America and the British Empire were not good people, right?
Well, that was it. The British Empire went and invaded many countries and went, this is ours now. How is that a proud history? How can we sit there and go, well, that's what Germany tried to do?
Right.
How can we turn around to Germany and say that they were wrong when Britain and America literally done it? Like, that's what we've done.
We gave it back eventually. You gave it back begrudgingly, Time Zero.
We didn't really give it back eventually. What we've done is we've put everything in a museum and we now charge them to come and see their own shit.
That's right.
That's literally what we've done is we've went, like, these people have came back and went, by the way, 200 years ago you came and you stole this for our ancestors, and we're like, well, you can't have it back because we're not done looking at it.
Well,
you can pay and come in and see it, but you don't get it back.
Well, Americans, we did the same shit, right? Americans, fucking, the Puritans, who got kicked out of England because they were the fucking lamest, boringest shitheads ever. They were even the British were like, y'all people suck. Get the fuck out. Got on
so
shit.
Much has changed, hasn't it? Now?
Fuck you, right? they stuck a bunch of motherfuckers on a boat. Those motherfuckers landed on Plymouth Rock, so to speak, and there was already a fucking civilization here. Multiple variations of civilization. Mm-hmm. Now, archaeologically and anthropologically speaking, the reason for the descriptions of the wide open spaces and the huge land and the unpopulated areas was because about I haven't studied anthropology in like 10 years, so breeze with me. Like a decade or so before the Puritans landed here, a humongous plague swept through the Americas and obliterated 80 to 90% of the native population. At one point, it was postulated that America's native populations was in the tens of millions.
I can see that for the grand, like, the scale of what America was.
And then when the Puritans got here, they were like, there's nobody here. Yeah, because a decade ago, everybody fucking died. And then the Puritans show up, and they meet with the natives, and the natives are like, what's up? Welcome to welcome. Yeah. And
this is ours now.
The Puritans were like, who owns this? And the natives went, what do you mean? They went, oh, dope, we own it now. And the natives went, I don't know what you mean by owning it. The land is the land. Nobody owns the land. Well, the Puritans went, no, we own it. Here's a flag. We own it. You British assholes and your clever use of flags have taken over most of the world, goddammit.
I know, like, that's the thing. And that's part of the history that I'm no proud of.
Me neither.
Like, I don't know why people are so proud of that part of the history, but they yet argue that. And to kind of bring the conversation back to the kind of like the ritual superstitions and that is where I was going with the likes of like World War II and stuff like that. Again, the stem of that was propaganda from the media that through the telephone-esque manipulated what was happening. And it made society, and it's still going on. And people, the fact that 70, 80 years later, people are still oblivious to this thing that the media do is the still day propaganda. We laugh at North Korea when they turn around and say that they've won 3 World Cups. We laugh that they say to their people that they're the powerhouse of the world and that everybody else is poor. But you're like, our media still do that. Look at Fox fucking News.
Yep.
Like, for some reason on my YouTube it pops up and it's like, I'm not fucking interested in this shit. Like, one of the guys at Tucker or some shit, that fucking bellend, he turns around and literally says that children wearing masks is basically as if an adult is abusing the child and they should be locked up. And you're like, this is the shit that this guy is spreading. Like, this is basically turning around and saying all Germans are Nazis. That is what he is doing in 2021. Like, and there's so many people that don't understand that part. It's insane.
Yeah,
like I genuinely it blows my mind that there's so much of the population that are so ill-informed and don't want to get informed. They don't want to read. They just want to be told how to feel and how to think.
Well, why do you think that is, though? Like, why do you think so much of a populace now? And I bring it up all the time. If you've been to the podcast a lot, you hear me say it all the time. You have the entire collected information of the human race in the palm of your hand. But yet, you want to watch cat videos.
It's society.
Yeah.
Society. Growing up, you think back in like the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Up until, I would say, 20 years ago. Pretty much, I would say, see when like punk rock became a thing.
Mm-hmm. So about 30
years ago,
late 70s.
Everything was discipline. You, like... There was people that were higher up than you that you had to just listen to. You went to work, you done what you were told, you came home. That was how it was. Even if you want to go as far back to the start, like you had a hierarchy system where you had the top guy, or the woman in some cases, that told everybody what to do. Everybody just done what they were told. That was it. Through the years, that's no changed. Like, you can go through from fucking year one all the way up to now that there's so many people that are taught from past generations that there is a system in place that you have a role in. And it was up until about the 70s and 80s when punk rock started the revolution of fuck the man.
Right.
That it started swaying, and the likes of, like, look at it this way, technology wouldn't have boomed this much without that sort of kickstart of, do you know what, do you honestly think that the internet would have half the stuff that's on it?
Fuck no.
If it was created by the man, the conglomerates, the media?
Fuck no.
The ones that tell people what to think and how to feel? Like...
No, because they would have exerted a certain level of control on the internet that they don't have now. Alright, soapbox, real quick. Net neutrality is one of the most important fucking things in the entire world right now. Like, anytime net neutrality comes up, I fucking go off on it, because without net neutrality, you don't have freedom of information. So, like what you're saying now, if it was run by the conglomerates, the corporations of do what you're told, sit down, shut up, that's the death of net neutrality right there. Without net neutrality, you don't have, like, Raw Story and like all these other outlets where you can get the facts. And without net neutrality, like, you wouldn't have like Twitter being able to, like, or like Facebook to be able to post stories in countries of oppression. Like, even the people in North Korea still get their message out because they find a free and neutral internet to, you know, they risk their lives to do it in some cases. But without net neutrality, we wouldn't know about the Uyghur Muslims in China. We wouldn't know about the North Koreans. We wouldn't know about the oppression in India that's going on. We wouldn't know about, there was Phil DeFranco was talking about it last week. Myanmar, the fucking military coup in Myanmar. We wouldn't know about that.
Yeah.
So,
but I think, again, it still comes down to the society that, like, look at this in a simple way. You said a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about childhood and all that kind of stuff, if your mum told you to do something, you done it. Yeah, she was in charge. She was the boss. Right?
Yeah.
How many times did you vote? See, in like the elections and all that kind of stuff, how many times did you vote for the party that your parents voted for?
Honestly? Once or twice.
Right.
I've always voted different.
Learning.
Yeah.
But that's where the problem is like, my mum and dad, like my mum's even came out and said that it's like, she would vote for the party that my gran and grandpa voted for.
Right.
Because it was the working class thing. Rarely looked up the policies and all that kind of stuff, but it was because the parents voted for that, that's what they voted for.
Right.
It's only now that this generation, or my generation, or the past generation, has started looking a wee bit more into it and kind of going, no, we're going to make an informed decision.
Yeah, my kids are getting that way.
It depends on how you're thinking. It's the societal discipline where your parents tell you what to do, and nobody thinks to just challenge that. It's just, well, they're in charge. They're your parents. That's authority, and that's it. That's where the problem is people don't want to think for themselves. They just want to be told. And it's societal. It's a problem that we have as a society, that people aren't willing to look within themselves and make their own decisions, because there's so much authority or anything like that denounce anybody that strays from the norm. Like, you hear about the stories every day where a child decides that they don't want to do that, and the parents take away everything for them, take away their money, take away their allowance, take away their fucking freedom. If you're under my roof, you get fuck all. You do what I say. That's a problem. That's no, like, you have a child, you don't own that child. That child is its own person. That's its own being. You don't own. And let's be honest, every generation always turns around and goes, I want my child to have a better life than I did growing up. But they do the same things that they grew up with, because that was how they were raised. Like, they turn around and go, like, I was put to my bed at 6 p.m. and if I was bad, I didn't get dinner. I don't want my child to be put through the same thing, but then don't feed their child and put them to bed if they're bad. And you're like, but you're literally claiming that you don't want your child to have the same life that you had, but you're forcing them into your life. You've decided, I'm a doctor, you have to be a doctor. I want the best for you. No, the best for your child is to let them do what the fuck makes them happy.
I get where you're going with that, but on a related note, I think what you're talking about, especially with parenting, is what they mean by they don't want their kid to have to suffer the negative aspects or the traumatic aspects of growing up.
How would you learn that way?
Well,
like, instead of hiding your child from those traumatic experiences, why not put forward a platform that if your child doesn't go through certain traumas and certain struggles, how are they going to learn to be able to do it on? Because you're not going to be there forever. And these things are going to come up eventually. But if you can put forward a system where you can explain to them, look, this is what I done when I was a child, this is how I got into this situation. Give them the platform to be informed of how it is. But if they make that mistake themselves, help them learn from it. I'm not talking about all parents in this situation.
Right,
what I'm meaning is it's the parents that if a child makes a mistake, they basically disown them.
Yeah, well,
it makes the child not want to come forward with any problems. Like, look at your kid when they came and said they don't want to be known as she, her. They want to be known as they, them, right?
Mm-hmm.
See if you were the type of parent that just kept on shunning everything that they felt about themselves, you pushed away. Do you really think they would have came to you and explained that to you? They would have kept it bottled up, been miserable for the next 3 years until they were at the house, and then wouldn't have talked to you again.
Right.
But they felt the belief to be able to come to you with a valid argument and explanation as to why they want to be they, them. And you were willing to go, I'll give you that platform. That's fine. And now they're so much happier in their life because they feel heard. They feel as if they can be themselves. But there's so many people that don't get to be themselves because of a societal hierarchy that makes them believe that they have to just do what's told. They have to do what they're told to do, what's normal, which isn't the case anymore.
Okay, you breached a lot of things, and I kind of want to hit those. So I agree for the most part that societal hierarchy is it's sort of like institutionalized behavioral, right? So like you grow up, your parents raise you the way that best they the way their parents raised them, and they try to evolve the parenting from their parenting, and you try to evolve the parenting from your parenting if you're a good parent, right? But so often the people who become parents rely on the ritualization of parenting that they learn from their parents. So like if your punishment was you didn't get dinner when you were a kid and it taught you to do what you needed to do to get dinner, of course that's your default sort of discipline measure, right? Another thing you talk about is how like when a child wants to do what a child does, and it's contradictory to what the parent expects, right? The thing is
right that you have to expect a certain thing from your child,
right? But there's the thing between understanding a way a kid behaves based on the way you've raised them and the lessons and values you've instilled, versus reacting completely contrary to what you've tried to instill and raise them with those values. I think is the disconnect. So like, I have 5 kids, 6 with the dog. Each of them have different mental health issues, physical needs. So what I've tried to do is as a parent, and this is just me speaking from my personal experience, and I grew up in a very traumatic household where my mom was a single mom for a lot of time. She did have a very harsh code of discipline. My sisters did get treated differently than I did and my brother did. So, and my mom grew up in a very abuse-forward house. So we grew up where we caught an ass whooping and we got dinner taken away and we got shit. So for me, my thing is when it comes to discipline, I will ask you to do something, right? Get the dishes done, do your homework. I will ask you multiple times to do so. If you fail to do those things that you are requested to do, then I tell you what to do. If you then fail to do what I've told you to do, then discipline happens. Now, discipline can be you lose your privileges, you don't get dinner that's made, you make an alternate meal, or your ass goes to bed early without dinner because you fucked up that bad. With me, I don't go to the way I was raised. I have a system of a series of steps. You did this, you didn't get this. I don't automatically go where my mom went because I know that certain kids won't react well to that. So I have a multiple of any good parent nowadays should have a multi-pronged approach of understanding and educating and disciplining their kids, where a lot of people don't have that nowadays because one, they work and they don't, they're tired or whatever, and a lot of it is they don't want to put and this is gonna, any parent that listens to this is gonna be like, fuck you, Docs. If you don't take the time to understand and develop different strategies for different kids, you're a lazy fucking parent.
I can agree with that.
It doesn't mean you're a bad parent, it just means you're a lazy fucking parent.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, everybody's doing, and like you had said, the way you were raised in the household, to me that just sounds as if your mum kind of put her trauma onto you guys, which is unfair. That's bullshit. Like, a child doesn't deserve to have you, like, just because you can't deal with your trauma doesn't mean you can take it out on your kids.
Right. But
that's how I see it. But at the same time, you dealing with that sort of childhood has given you, like, that childhood could go both ways. You could go down the route of your mum who had a similar childhood and kind of just continued on that path, which you could have went down, or you could use that childhood as a learning platform to kind of go, well, I didn't really respond well. Like, I mean, look at the relationship you and your mum has now.
I love her, but we don't get along.
Yeah, no, exactly. Whereas the way that you've kind of developed your parenting skills to your kids, you have a relationship with your kids. Like, you say it every week, like, you put away a Wednesday or a Thursday to hang out with your family and all that kind of stuff. It's now got to the point where they're older and they just want to do their own thing, which is all fair enough. Like, at 16, did you want to be going round to your grandparents on a Saturday when you had your pals there, or did you want to go and hang about your pals? But how many times were you dragged to go to somewhere that your mum or your dad wanted to do because they were the parent?
A lot.
Like, I'm not saying that you can't parent your child, because in the development stage of children, they need to be taught the discipline, the mannerisms, the how to adult. Like, that's fair. You need to give them the kind of products to be able to develop as an adult, so that they can then put those learning to use when it comes to the real world. Like, but it's one of those ones that the more and more that you push a child against or for authority and this kind of stuff, all you're doing is pushing them further and further away, that they don't feel as if they'd be able to come to you with anything, like with problems or anything like that. Because if you're one of those ones that you expect better from them, they're just going to stop coming and telling you the mistakes, because they feel as if they're being disciplined for a mistake that you don't agree with. Whereas if you weren't disciplining them for your expectations, then it's like they'll come to you. Like, be disappointed, explain to them why you're disappointed in them, but help give them the tools to be able to learn and adjust to it and work through it. Like, don't just be like, oh, I expected more. Like, all that's doing is pushing them away. And there's so many parents that you see online and stuff that have that attitude. It's because you can go the other way, where like, you have these parents that will post up, oh, weekend, woohoo, we're going to get steaming. You're like, well, hold on a minute. You made the decision to have a child. You raised that child. Like, my sister, near enough every weekend, she's asking my parents if they can watch the weigh-ins so that they can go out for dinner, or they can go out to the shops. You're like, hold on. When my mum and dad had me, my brother, and my sister, they didn't get to go out partying at the weekends. They didn't get to go. They took us, because that's what you do as a parent. That you've had the child, you're responsible. You can't just patch them on to somebody else because you want to go. Like, I understand you have to have your own time. You have to be able to be free and just have those breaks and that. That's understandable. But the way some people act, it's as if like, it's such a fucking burden that I have this child. So, see, if the child was that much a burden, what the fuck did you have them for? Why did you put that burden onto them? Like, they didn't ask to be born. You took that decision, be it willingly or unwillingly. You made that. You had sex. You had unprotected sex. Even if you only want to have a child, that's the risk. Like, that's how it is. You're responsible for the consequences that come from it.
Yeah.
And again, it stems down to this hierarchical discipline and authoritarian that just seems to be that the big person's always right.
Well,
and how society deem you to have to go.
Well, part of that is the way we developed as a human civilization. Because again, from an anthropology perspective, a lot of times it was literally the despotism, might makes right. The strongest candidate was the leader, because they were able to outlive, outperform, or outproduce the others in their tribe. Now, the whole reason Homo sapiens are the dominant human race or human species is because we outproduced and reproduced any other human subspecies or any other human species, because you had like Homo florensis, you had Homo neanderthalis, you had Homo robustus, you had Homo dionysiovian that are all come out, but Homo sapiens outproduced and outperformed the other ones, and therefore the other ones went extinct. So when you talk about hierarchical trend toward authority, that's sort of the human experience for the entire thing we've been here, and only now, as the generation becomes more informed and we're more empowered to be different and encourage differences, we can broaden the perspective and the way we, not only the way we parent, but the way we present ourselves as a society and a culture. But that hasn't trickled down to the general populace yet. There's pockets of it, like, and with me, like I was talking about the way I discipline. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I will holler and lecture your ass all day long when I get pissed off. Like, if you fucking make me angry, I'm gonna fucking bitch you out, and I'm gonna keep going because I know all you want me to do is shut up. So I'm gonna go longer just to fucking piss you off. But I also tell the kids, you got two choices. You can either, when I'm in that state, when I'm fucking angry as hell, you can either get lectured and have me fucking rip you a new one, or I can whoop your ass across the hall. Which one you want? And 10 out of 10, they're like, all right, just fucking holler at us, let us learn our lesson, and fucking get on with the day. And that's only like if I'm really like hit the wall. But I'm not perfect. Like, I do have a very multiple levels of how I try to deal with my kids, but there's just times where it's like, you know what, I'm fucking done with your shit. And I think a lot of parents don't have that. They just have the I'm done with your shit gear. They don't have that other gear of I need to they don't have that gear of wanting to like learn and prop up and deal differently. They just have, I'm the adult, do your thing, because that's the experience of humanity up until just recently.
Yeah.
There's a couple points in chat I want to hit real quick, and then we got to move on because we're already coming up on about an hour 45, and we got a lot to get through. So, Dime mentioned the rejection of education has a lot to answer for. It says, I find that attitudes of today's current students are very different from mine at that age. Well, yeah, because kids are different than when we are now. Like, the world has changed from when, like, I'm going to be 42 in July. You're going to be 30. Like, you're 30, right, Chris? Are going to be 30?
Yeah.
And then
I'm fair.
Dime says he's a crotchety old man. So our attitudes and our mentalities reflect our generational upbringing.
Yeah.
And this generation, for the most part, is a digital generation where education is something that hasn't changed in 100 years. And with the availability of information and tutorials, a lot of kids teach themselves where schools don't teach anymore. The other thing, too, is that the education system has shifted to teaching tests and not teaching education. So that's a big part of it. Dredd talks about... Yeah, exactly. Dredd talks about how they don't adapt to the needs of the kid. Dredd in chat also mentioned that everybody's approached with a cookie-cutter solution. Yeah, you can't do that. And then Dime and everybody says, it's similar. It's similar that they agree. Forced academia. So yeah, a lot of the rejection of education and sort of the sheeple mentality is sit down, shut up, pass the test, don't question anything, get a job, go to work, which is not...
You can't speed up for the smart kids, you can't slow down for the slow kids, you just have a certain thing, you just have to deal with it. And I think, like you'd said, the generation now are starting to understand that there's a lot more information out in the world, there's a lot more teaching out in the world, and I think we're now starting to see just how inadequate the teaching standard has been. Mm-hmm. And I think, like the points they said, there's a need for a complete and major overhaul of so many aspects of society, but teaching is like one of the main things. Is we need to stop teaching kids how to test and how to remember what's on a test. We need to start teaching kids how to garner information, how to learn, how to problem solve, how to teach themselves other things. And I think that's where things have to go. But the thing with it is, it's not an overnight fix. Every generation will always turn around and say how they're more progressed than the last. And it's true. Over the last 50 years, every generation has been more progressed than the last. It's going to take time for us to get to that point. I think now, because there's so much information out there and people are starting to think for themselves, a lot of people want the change to happen now, overnight, just that's it, which isn't how it can work.
No.
It needs to be over time. And
but it's got to start, though.
Exactly. Like, you can see in some aspects that things are starting to make a change, but to me, a lot it's the wrong things that they're kind of prioritizing.
Right. Dread brings up a good point in chat. For those of you that are only listening via Spotify or whatever podcast platform, the podcast is live, so we do have a live audience reaction. So when we talk about Dread or Dime, they are people who are watching live and contributing to the conversation. And Dread, you're right. They don't teach you what you need to survive because the education system hasn't significantly changed in 100 years. Now, before anybody says anything else, this isn't the fault of the teachers.
No.
It's the fault of the educational institutions to not adapt. Now, some teachers are garbage. Don't get me wrong. Not all teachers are saints and bastions of improvement. Some teachers that are collecting a paycheck and don't give a fuck. And we all know what teachers we're talking about because we've all had them. But at
the same time, that could also stem from the educational department of teachers have just got to the point where they can't they can't teach how they want to teach because it is a system. They just have to go with the flow. And I think if there was a change, see if teachers were given a lot more freedom to teach, you'll probably find that you'll never actually have one of those bad teachers because there is not really bad. There's bad people.
Right.
But when it comes to teaching, most teachers go into teaching with the right intentions, but they're not given the tools. The same way as the students are not given the tools to learn properly, the teachers are not given the tools to be able to teach how they want to teach. So, again, like you said, it does stem from the educational system as opposed to the teachers and the students and the employees of it.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that we suffer in society today, and I kind of want to put a bow on this because we're gonna be real late. From my perspective, a lot of the societal issues that we have is one, their generational disconnect because the other generation doesn't want to do the work to catch up to the next generation, and the next generation doesn't want to feel like they're held back by the old generation, so there's a disconnect there. Two, there's also a very real epidemic of stagnation in like modern cities. The educational infrastructure, the city infrastructure, the medical infrastructure, it's an epidemic of stagnation because we know we need to change. But it's so big that nobody wants to try and tackle it because they don't want to fail because they're worried about if we fail, will society break down? What the hell's going to happen if we fail to change the system in a meaningful way? Right or wrong? That's my take on a lot of this societal dissonance that we deal with. What do you think, Chris?
No, I can agree with that. Like, it's just there's so many aspects to it that all sort of intertwine that cause the problems, or they think that they're creating solutions, but in that solution to one problem, they've created 7 other problems. And I think the kind of takeaway is, in so many aspects of it, there just needs to be a complete overhaul. But like you said, generations need to get closer together to understand the stem and the root of the issue. Because until they agree that there is an issue, we cannot fix the issue.
Right.
Because it's just a constant battle between generations. And like Dredd said, politicians are business people. That, like, 9 times out of 10, when you look at politicians, they've all got either business or law degrees.
Yeah.
That is the background. Where are the scientists? Where's the engineers? Where's the teachers? Where's the chefs? Where's the rocket scientists? Where
Farmers.
are these people that know the workings of how to survive? Why are we listening to lawyers and business people that really don't know shit when it comes to real life?
Because it's the belief that they're more educated and more filled in of what we understand, of what
You
we
go back to the original point.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the authoritarian belief that there's someone up there that knows best when it's not true.
Yeah.
And we need punk rock music to make their revolution again. They start steamrolling this ahead that the only people that know what the public want are the fucking public.
Yeah.
And these rich bastards that think they know, that don't know shit, as Dredd put a bit more eloquently, need to basically fuck off.
Yeah, again, we talk about that appeal to authority being a very much limiting factor in society, making true progress. You know what I mean? We just made that appeal to authority fallacy. So, wow, that was massive. We rolled on to that topic forever, which is a great conversation. I don't want to denigrate it, but like, we still got a lot to cover. So, let's move on to another popular topic, shall we? Toxicity. Not the System of a Down song. No. Toxicity in your life. Now, recently, there was some stuff that went down in my life where I had, and my girlfriend's lives, where some very difficult decisions had to be made, and it was tough to make them. Years ago, I have, I don't talk about my family, but I have, hang on, I gotta think. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. 2 of my brothers are no longer with me. Now, only one of those two of those brothers are, only one of the 4 brothers were not related to me by any blood link whatsoever. So, and I have 2 biological sisters from different parents. I don't acknowledge my second sister because of what she did and how she is as a person. And recently in my home, we had to cut out another toxic family member because of the damage that was being done to the family. It's not a popular decision. It's not an easy decision. It is a difficult decision because you have familial bonds with these people. And growing up, you are taught that your family is your family no matter what, and you don't turn your back on family. Dox is about to make a very unpopular opinion. That's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Once I made the decision to remove that female from my life, I no longer had the stress of having to worry about said toxic person in my life. And for years, I got brutalized by family and friends. Oh, well, they're your sister. Why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. Because the bitch is a fucking horrible human being and she did some really dirty shit. And I shouldn't have...
fucko?
I shouldn't have to carry the burden of her fucking bullshit just because she's my fucking blood.
Yeah.
And I'm an asshole where I don't care. You can say that shit to me and it doesn't bother me. So like when I say I got brutalized, it was this in my ear constantly. But me, I didn't care. I don't feel bad about it at all. And then one of my brother who passed away, who I have no biological relation to, I cut him out of my life too because he went down a road that I tried relentlessly to help him with, and he didn't want my help. So after that, I threw my hands up and was like, I can't do this anymore. And unfortunately, it ended badly, and my sister, who I actually acknowledge, pays the price because she didn't give up on him, even though he. And I'm not. And if she hears this, please don't be mad at me. I'm not trying to say what you did was wrong. I'm not. I'm just saying that some people aren't worth your health and your mental status. And when you make the decision to cut out a toxic person, you should not feel bad for doing what is right for you and yours, regardless of what people say. It is okay to cut toxicity out of your life, whether it's family, whether it's a boyfriend, whether it's a job, whether it's a home, whether it's a state. Oh, fucking 50 days. I wanted to talk about this in my ramble because there's a lot of backlash that's currently being thrown in our direction, and I'm trying not to. It's sensitive, and I don't want to go too far into it, but there's a lot of backlash, and it's affecting people. And my personal thing is, I understand why you feel the way you do, and I understand why it affects you, but don't let the negativity of the decision that other people are hoisting upon you make you give in and bring that toxicity back. Like,
yeah,
because toxicity is what it is. It's toxic. It will kill you. A toxic situation, a toxic relationship, a toxic family member can only drag you down with them. And you have to be strong enough for yourself and your remaining family or your situation to say, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you have to look at the people that sling the accusations and the negativity your way and just go like this. You're not here. You don't see it. So these two are for you. And a lot of people can't do that. So I kind of wanted to talk to this for whoever listens to this, whoever sees this. Like we talked about last week when Chris was mentioning his exit, when we talked about depression. If you're dealing with toxic backlash from making a choice to remove toxicity from your life, you did the right thing for you. Fuck everybody else and don't give in to the backlash because it's just them looking through the window and not experiencing your reality like you do. They don't know they're not here. They don't see it.
Yeah.
All they see is the window. And they see, oh, you're being an asshole. You did X, Y, and Z. It's okay. If you made the decision because you're fed up and you've been through hell and back and you're done, it's okay. You're not alone. People do it all the time. And they face horrendous backlash. But it's just words. It's just people who are mad or angry or don't understand. So don't give in to the backlash. What do you think about toxicity, Chris?
Well, if your standpoint was unpopular, then strap the fuck in.
Oh boy, here we go.
Because for not just toxic people, but for anybody in your life, the harsh reality is you don't owe them shit.
Facts.
You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them love. You don't owe them happiness. You don't owe them sadness. You don't owe them absolute fuck all. If someone is toxic and hurts you emotionally, physically, mentally, or anything like that, you have every right to remove them from your life, be it blood relatives, be it friendships, be it anything, any aspect of your life. If it is not going towards your happiness, you do not have to put up with it. Other people don't have the right to decide whether or not you feel or don't feel a certain way towards them. If someone hurts you, you can remove them. If you don't want to forgive them, that's your prerogative. They are not owed anything, and if they are not willing to accept that, fuck them. They can move. They can go deal with it somewhere else. But the problem that there is so many people think that if you're blood related to anybody, then that's it. I've had friends that have completely cut parents out their life because something simple as they didn't believe in their dream. Because they knew that they had to go full fucking hammer to get to their dream. And their parents weren't working in the same way, like the same direction as them. So they cut them out and said, look, I love you, but I can't have you in my life because I need to do this and you're no helping that. That's fine. Like, again, there's a baseline respect that you should give to people before anything. Is like everybody you give respect. If you're a decent person, you give everybody respect. But you don't have to respect everybody if they give them reason not to. Like, yes, everybody has their own opinions. Everybody's allowed to have their own rights. You don't have the right to tell someone they're wrong, just like they don't have the right to tell you you're wrong.
Right.
If someone's going to be an issue in your life, you have every reason to cut them out.
Yep.
And you don't even owe them an explanation. All you have to do is make sure that you've learned from that and make yourself a better person. It's up to them to learn from that and make themselves a better person. That you don't have to worry about that. That's on them.
Right.
But so long as you make your every day on this fucking planet the best it possibly can be, if that means quitting a job, if that means moving to another state, if that means splitting up with a partner, if that means stopping a friendship, if that means cutting out a family member, then fucking do it. Because without the happiness in life that you take responsibility for, then you're just going to be miserable. And that's no life to live.
Facts.
Like, there has to be a certain level of selfishness in your life where you look after your own happiness. Don't put it on someone else. And it's the exact same reason as to why, if someone is taken from your happiness, you are justified in cutting that out. Like, I never understand why so many people turn around and say, oh, I hate my job, and people will be like, oh, you need to get out of that job, you have to go and quit your job. But you turn around and go, oh, I fucking hate this sister or uncle or cousin. Like, oh, that's family. Have some respect. Fuck them. What respect were they showing you?
Exactly. Part of it
you
is
have
fear.
to show them that respect if you're as long as you're no then retaliating and trying to hurt them. If you're just like, nah, fuck off, I'm done, and going your own way, fine. Like, you're being the bigger person then. But
part of it is fear,
you don't owe anybody.
Part of it is fear. Why people don't make that decision, though. Part of it is fear.
I completely understand that. I know it's a difficult. I really don't want to take away from the kind of difficulty in that.
Yeah, no, I know you're not.
Decision making. Like, I know there's so, like, in that sense, there's so many other aspects that has to come into play in order to make that decision. I'm in no way saying it's an easy decision.
No, you weren't. I was just highlighting one of the things that somebody would say.
And it's like, I can understand that it takes a lot to get to that point. Like, there's a lot that you can just let slide. There's a lot of things like, oh, maybe I'll stop going to family gatherings and I'll not invite them to parties and that. But to get to the point where you go, I want you to have nothing to do with me, my family, or anything like that, it's a major decision. But if that's the point that you get to, that's justification enough as to why you're making the correct decision. It's because it's got to that point. This is not just a little family tiff that every family has. Or I wanted to do this, and they decided they went and bought the same dress as me. That level is something that you're just being petty. But to get to this point, that's justification in itself. And all I can say is that I really hope the person that you're talking to can take this situation, learn and understand that they made this as it was, and can try and make themselves a better person. Because it's actually the way, like, in a lot of cases, I'm not saying that you have, like, in some cases you just have to shut the door, steal it shut, that's it, it's done. But you also have to remember that people make mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Over and over again. Unless they're willing to learn, they'll continuously make that mistake. But in everybody, there is always that slim chance that they will learn. You never know. 3, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, they might come to you and go, look, I was an asshole. I'm sorry. I've changed. I want to show you I've changed. I want to be back in your life. Then that's on you to decide whether or not you're willing to give a chance or whatever.
And it's okay for you not to give them a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay,
that's what
because
I'm trying to say.
If you don't want to put yourself out there until there's a track record of that person doing it on their own, it's fine. You don't, even if they come to you and say I'm changed, you don't have to take them back. It's okay.
You don't owe them. You do not owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them second, third, fourth, fifth chances. You owe nobody anything, and that's the truth of it. It
goes the same way for like your job. If you're in a toxic work environment, you don't owe the job anything.
Yeah,
you know, exactly. Like with me, like I'm, and I know, oh my God, we're having such a great conversation, and I see the timer. I don't care because I want to get through it. But for me, the situation I'm at right now, we talk about it a lot. My job sucks. I don't get paid enough for the amount of work I do, but I can't leave it right now. And I couldn't leave it in the past because, one, I needed the flexibility of being able to do what I could do because of family issues. And two, now we got a move coming up, so I'm not going to leave pre-move. But where I'm at right now is I'm struggling with the decision of when to tell them I'm moving. Because the asshole in me is like, you get 2 weeks for all the shit you've done and didn't do and all the stuff you never delivered on. But the responsible person in me is like, you better tell them a month out because there's a lot that they're going to have to do to replace you.
Yeah.
So the struggle I'm having with that toxic situation is, do I give them the 2 weeks because that's all they're owed? Or do I give them a month and their failure after that is on them, not you? That's my struggle right now, like from a work perspective.
Yeah, for me, it's a personal decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a decision that only you can really come to. For me, like, for my last work, I did go to them and say, look, I don't like how this is going. You fucked me over. I'm willing to give you the time to get help, but after that, I'm going. It ended up, I was but a number, and I was replaced within 2 days. Like, so for me, it's a different thing. But it's one of those things. You're the only person that can come to that decision.
Yeah, and I think that's the crux of toxicity in general, is only you can make the decision. You could have all the evidence in the world and people telling you what to do, but ultimately it's a decision for yourself to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people struggle with that decision, whether it's a family member or a job or a significant other. But let's kind of segue this into the second part of this ramble is, how do you recognize that toxicity though? How do you acknowledge it and recognize it? Because a lot of people struggle with that as well. Not only clearing the toxicity, but a lot of people fail to recognize that it's even toxic in the first place.
Yeah, like, I'm one of the fucking worst for that. Like, the amount of jobs that I've been in that I've no, the amount of relationships I've been in that I've no fucking realised that. And to be honest, it's hard to pinpoint because, again, everybody has different kind of abilities, different standards and base levels of like what they can push themselves to. But the main thing to look at is if you are happy or not in the situation. Like, with work, do you wake up every morning and think, I really don't want to go to work? That's working in a toxic environment. Like, it's not toxic as in there's sexual abuse or stuff like that, but if you are unable to find happiness in it, that's toxic. If it is affecting other aspects of your life, that's where I would say is the kind of the base level of toxic behavior.
Right.
Is that it's affecting other aspects of your life. You come home from work and take it out on your kids. You're in a toxic thing, and in doing so, you're creating a toxic environment for your kids. You are now a toxic person in their lives that eventually they have the right to tell you to go fuck yourselves. So I think it's a difficult thing to see because like as you said, there's things that happen in life, like you know that your work's toxic in your life, but you've got other things that you need to have this job for.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable. But the difference is like you coming home from work after doing your doubles and all that kind of stuff, and your fuse is a lot shorter and your kid's not doing chores or not doing this or not doing that. That's not on your kids,
right.
that you're in a toxic situation. And again, you putting that on your kids makes you the bad person.
Exactly.
And even, and I'm not just being about kids, I mean about in any situation. Right. Like, if you're in a toxic relationship and you go to your parents' house or you go to your siblings' house, you go to your friend's house, you take it on them, you're the arsehole.
Facts.
And that relationship, and so many times it's a knock-on effect. But I think at the same time, it's also, as much as other people don't owe you anything to kind of help you, I had it when I was 16. I started dating a girl and I dated her for 3 years. And it wasn't until after we broke up. Now, the reason we broke up is because she had cheated on me. She had done other things. She was just a nasty person.
Right.
And once we broke up, my mum, my sister, my brother, my dad, my friends all turned around and said, we never liked her. We seen that she was a bad person. And all I could sit there and think is, where the fuck were you for 3 years? Why did you let me go through this, knowing fine well what was going on? Why did you let me have this heartbreak? And in one case, you can argue, well, it's my mistake to live. It's my life.
Right.
Them no liking somebody in my life, they don't have a right to time it. It's
right.
up to me, which I understand and appreciate in that. Because at the end of the day, if you turn around and go, I don't like that person's my mate's boyfriend, you have zero right to tell them that they should break up with their boyfriend because you don't like them.
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking matter. Like, your opinion means fuck all.
But he's an abusive piece of shit, though. You should make an attempt.
But again, it's not your position.
No, not. I don't mean like if you know, if you've witnessed the abusive situation, I would think you would be like, hey, yo, is this really what you want to go through? Because I don't think it's the best position, and I'm worried about you.
Like, that is the best way to kind of approach it, is timing, because you don't want to be aggressive in it, because in most cases they've got rose-coloured glasses on.
Facts. 100%.
They see it as, they just love me so much that they're trying to teach me, and that's it. And if you push it too aggressively, all they'll do is push you away and they'll not tell you when 100%. Things are happening. If you can help them kind of see and go, look, I don't think this is, you really have to think about how you feel in this.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way to deal with it. But even if somebody's abusive to someone, you have no right to turn around and say you need to break up with them.
Yeah, you can't just say
it's
that.
It's not your position,
right?
Like that's not your role in life. So it's the exact same reason if I turned around to you and said, I don't like B, I think she's abusive, fucking dump her. Like, I can just make that up on the spot.
Right. Exactly.
Like, that can be my opinion, but you don't have to go with that. Like, you might not agree with that in that situation. So it's like, who am I to turn around and tell you that who you can see, who you can date, where you can work? Like, that's not my position. But if I was to turn around and go, look, when B acts like this, how does it make you feel? And I'd be more inclined to try and make you figure it out yourself and kind of be like, do you know what? That does to make me happy. And then it's you, like, you're the one making this decision.
Right.
Because in that abusive relationship, they're the one that's like the abusive partner's making all your decisions. They're telling you that they're hitting you for love. You believe them.
And that's part of toxicity. That's part of the hallmark of toxicity is the mental warfare that's played. Not only just like from a physical abuse standpoint, because that's the easiest one to point to, but like your work will be like, you know, if you don't come in, Charlie's got to work a double, and Charlie's got, you know, his son's in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? It's that hallmark of like all toxicity makes you feel guilty for you looking to take care of yourself, because it's you're the selfish one. You're the one that is making everybody else suffer. And I think that's a key point on how to recognize toxicity is if you're being made to believe that it's your fault, then I think that's a pretty big red flag that the situation or the relationship is a toxic situation.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree that toxicity is a complicated fucking setup. It really is.
Anything we talk about is complicated, though.
Oh, I know, and that's why I like this podcast, is because we combat the complicated kind of topics. But for toxic behaviour, it comes down to how you feel in it.
Yeah.
If it makes you unhappy, if it makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you feel guilty, if it makes you feel anything but happiness or content or anything like that, then it's definitely a situation that you should put a little thought into. Like 100%. Perhaps discuss it with other people, discuss it with people that you trust, people that are willing to kind of have an open mind and be able to kind of help you see where your feelings could lie, and not just because if I turned around to you and said, "Oh, you should break up with him because I don't like," I'm being toxic.
Right.
I'm being just as bad as that abusive partner that we've been hypothetically explaining. So it's like that's the fine line of toxicity, is unless you're trying to make your life and everybody else's life better, you have to really look deep within and see just how certain situations are making you feel. And I'm not saying that you should just up and leave everything. If it's not making you happy, get up and leave, because there is still other things that get put into play that you have to work with. But I always felt as if one of the reasons why the world is in such a fucked up state is because too many people are just willing to allow other people to steamroll them out. Too many people are willing to kind of just bend over and take it. They're not willing to stand up for their own happiness. They're not willing to stand up for their own mental health, their own physical health. There's not enough people of a support system around people, because there's not enough people that are willing to, like, I had a situation on another server on Discord where there was a other user had put up, there was like a support and advice page on this server where people kind of go in and go like explain sort of like the situation or how they're feeling and that, and they're down in the dumps, and everybody else can kind of chime in and go, well, I felt that way, this is how I helped and all that, like, and there was a moment when someone had posted up saying that they were done with everything, they were done with the world, all it was filled with hate and anger and all that kind of stuff, and people were messaging in and kind of trying to be that, don't think like that, it's time. And as soon as they started going, no, like that, this is what it is, it's time, they would then start getting defensive and aggressive and, oh, you're just being a lost cause, you're just timing that. Whereas I could understand where they were coming from, because I've been in that situation where you've just felt as if like the world's full of hate and divorce and murder and anger and crime. Like, what's fucking time it? And I took the time to just sit there. Like I've no talked to him before. I've never talked to him before as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was just in that moment where I just took the time, and it turned out that he was autistic, and he just didn't have a support system that would listen to him.
Right.
Like he just, by the end up, it felt to me that he just didn't have that someone that was willing to hear his point of view. It was just always people telling him how he was wrong and what he was saying. And I kind of took the point and I was like, well, the world is full, or there's a lot of like murder and crime and anger and divorce and things. But what you also have to look at it is, in the world, there's millions of people getting married, there's millions of people having children, there's millions of people having promotions, they're being happy. And the only way we can combat evil is good. And there's a lot more good in the world than evil. It's just when you're in that situation where all you see is evil, it's going to be overwhelming. And all it took was me. It was like 30 minutes, and I just sat there and I was like, look, I'm listening. Like, I understand where you're coming from. And over that half an hour, actually acknowledging and replying to his messages and not just saying things that you felt he should have heard, it completely de-escalated the situation. And I had other people message me privately saying, thanks so much for being able to take the time and have the patience in that. And I was but that's one of the issues, is so many people don't have the patience anymore because they're at the final length of their cord.
Yep.
Like, they've had to put up with a lot of this, and it's just at their point where they're just tired of people feeling sad.
Right.
And it's fair enough. But again, without that support system, you can't get out of a toxic situation. When you've got all these people trying to tell you what to do, and not enough people trying to listen to you and try and let you develop that opinion and kind of go, well, like, because you always see when people talk about therapists and you see them in movies and that, and they always portray it as, and how does that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
People make a joke of that, but that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like, you being in an abusive relationship, if I turned around and like, I would dump them. Like, well, that's just a bit blunt. If I turn like that, well, when they do that, how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
And if you start then being able to go, well, it makes me feel quite shite, it's you yourself that's coming to those opinions.
That brings up the point of the reason why therapists are portrayed that way, as the core tenet of therapy is self-exploration leads to self-discovery, leads to self-betterment. And all too often, you and I on this podcast have said at the end when we do our wrap, one of the reasons this podcast is so good is because you and I can communicate opposing points a lot of the time, or often different perspectives of the point where they're often contrary based on our experience. But the reason we don't get angry or we don't dislike each other is because, one, we listen first and then reply after digesting and processing what you're saying. Like, for me, it's real easy to go, well, just fucking dump the guy. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And like, for the situation on the server, the fact that you took the time because you had the time or made the time, anybody else on the server could have done that. But it was you because you listened and you read and you processed and you understood the situation. A lot of people don't have that. What's up, man? Oh, nice photos. You'll have to send me those.
No.
What about it? I know. What? Mom's gonna have to cook it. I'm busy.
Mom doesn't know.
I'll have to wrap here in a minute and make it, but we're a little busy. Anyway, sorry about that. It's like 6:30. But a lot of toxicity and a lot of dealing with toxicity and people is not being able to listen and read the signs and then choose the appropriate action to remedy that toxicity because of fear, miscommunication, guilt, anger, sense of failure, things like that. So,
it kind of goes back to the first topic, and that a lot of people aren't willing to get the information. They're not willing to be informed in what's going on. They just want to put forward their opinion, their belief that they are right. They're not willing to listen and see where other people can come from. And that is, like, it kind of ties up everything we've kind of discussed tonight, is that it's the misinformation or the lack of sense to obtain the information for themselves
right.
that cause them these kind of situations that they don't have to be in, the stresses that they create themselves. Because if they were to take the time and have the patience to just listen to someone, take in what they've said, and then give them back a rebuttal or like an understanding,
Yep.
the conversation can flow a lot better than just you shouting your points,
Well,
and you get nowhere.
that makes sense because you see it all too often as people wait for their turn to talk instead of waiting for their turn to conversate.
Yeah, like they're not listening. They're not listening to reply. They're listening to know when they can start talking. They don't care what's coming out there. They're just waiting for their turn. And that's a perfect analogy to kind of explain how so much of society is right now, is that they're not listening to understand, they're listening to speak.
Facts. With that being said, let's lighten the mood and sort of move to the end here because we're going about we're probably going to be closer to 3 hours on this one. Let's move to the happy ending. So last week I believe I started, so this week let's start with yours. You go ahead and intro the topic. I'll get the link in chat.
Well, my good news, I was stuck between quite a few, but this one is animal shelters work together to help dogs have a better chance at being adopted. Basically, having skimmed kind of through the thing, basically in Idaho, a couple of different animal shelters have came together to try and help dogs be able to get their forever home, because in so many cases it's almost as if it's a business,
right?
And getting these animals out, and the only thing, so basically it's a story that kind of thing means like for example, an animal, a dog that can't be off leash for a variety of reasons, resource guarding, too protective of their owners, whatever the reason is, the dog not being safe off leash. If they determine that a dog wouldn't be successful in Blaine County, through the Transfer Coalition program, they're able to work with other shelters where the animal would have a better chance at being adopted. So what they're doing is, animal shelters are kind of moving dogs and animals throughout different areas of Idaho now, because in that understanding, like they said, if the dog isn't good at being on a leash, the last place you want to put that dog is within a city.
Yep.
You want the dog to have the freedom to be able to go into fields. So it seems stupid having it in an animal shelter within the city. You want it in an animal shelter where the people that would adopt the dog would have land and area that would be able to take the dog.
Right.
It's the same way it's so basically, animal shelters are becoming overcrowded, which is a bad thing, because when animal shelters become overcrowded, the only way that people seem to be able to deal with that is by putting them down.
Yeah, that sucks.
Which just sucks, because why should an animal that a human being's brought into this world for whatever fucking reason have to be put down because they don't want it anymore? Like, all the animals that are in animal shelters is through the unreliable and owners that don't take the responsibility. Like, it's the long tailed story of a puppy's not just for Christmas.
Yep.
Which people still haven't fucking learned, which is another reason why I'm somewhat against pets. I just don't understand why.
I contributed to that too. We got Nicks at Christmas.
Yeah, but the difference is after 6 months, you didn't go, right, well, we're back at work now, we can't look after them, let's ship them off.
Yep.
Like, that's where it's in me. So, like, I just don't think, like, pets... Humans as a species are not evolved enough and intelligent enough to be able to have another species' life in their hands. We can't fucking take care of our own life. Why should we put the burden of another fucking species on it? So, like, that's mad, but that's a whole other story.
We've already been down that road a couple times.
But it's such a refreshing take to see that these animal shelters and that are actually starting to understand that animals have different personalities. Mm-hmm. A dog is not just a dog. A dog has a different personality from another dog. Right. And the fact that they're starting to actually see and work towards this, it's meaning that the numbers of animals that are having to get put down is drastically lowered, because you think it yourself, if you're looking for an animal and you're going to adopt, you usually go to the local animal shelter. You don't go further afield.
Nope.
So you're only seeing that small portion. The fact that this, wait a minute, I'll get the name of it.
Mountain Humane Shelter.
But it's the Transfer Coalition program.
Yeah.
Through this is what they're using to be able to transfer dogs and animals throughout the different shelters in order to give them a much wider chance of being able to find a forever home, which at the end of the day is the goal. The main goal is to get them out into forever homes. And there was a story as well that I was like kind of touched on this kind of thing, and there was a pit bull that had spent 425 days in a shelter.
Yep.
And it finally got its forever home, which is a great thing. But there was another one, and it was a Satan spawn Chihuahua.
Yeah, I saw that article on Twitter.
And they found its forever home, and what had happened is it had been in the shelter for like years and years. It was 12-year-old at this point. And the reason why the original owners had gave it up was because it was skittish around other animals. It couldn't deal with other humans. It couldn't really thing me. And it was like a spawn of Satan.
Right.
And what had actually happened is over the years, it didn't really get better and all that. And then it got put into another shelter where another chap found it. And the reason why he was able to take it to its forever home was because he had previously had a dog that didn't get on with children, didn't get on with humans, didn't get on with any animals. He was able to understand and adapt to the dog's personality.
Right.
And the dog had sadly passed away just through old age.
Right.
But because he had the experience of dealing with an animal with that personality, he was able to then take the Chihuahua in and adopt it and give it the better life because he could understand it. So that basically kind of shows that this program is the way forward, because in most cases that person would never have found him, because why would he go further afield when he would want to think? It was just the off chance that he's dealt with sort of animal before.
He had the ability to find it. Now, I saw. Well, I have two thoughts on this. One, this program reminds me of like the interlibrary loan system, where like if you go to your library and the library doesn't have a book, they can get the fucking book because they can call a library and be like, "Yo, do you got Harry Potter? Blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Yeah. Oh, I got a guy here, one city over, that wants the Harry Potter. Can you send me the book?" So when I saw this article, and I skimmed the articles that we put up, but I mainly, like you, I let you present the topic because I want to hear your take on it. But that was my first thought, was the inter-library loan system is sort of
Yeah.
what they're doing with shelters now. And I think it's amazing, because you're right. When you look for a pet, you're not gonna go more than 20 miles out of your way. Let's be honest. You're not gonna drive
Yeah.
50, 100 miles to, like, the average person, not you, but like, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drive 1,000 miles to get that dog. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna go to the Humane Society and be like, what do you got? And if they don't got what you want, you're not getting a pet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you may go over to the next town over, depending on how far the next town is, but you're not gonna go much more than 1 or 2 towns away.
No, exactly.
Especially for a rescue. Let's be frank, right? It takes a special kind of person to rescue a dog from a shelter, because most of them dogs are going to be fucked up in some way. They're going to have some sort of shit you got to process to work through, because they don't come out of the box fucking broken. But in order to end up in a shelter, some traumas had to happen.
Is it one of those ones that could be a misconception of society, is that not all animals that are in animal shelters have that, like, are all fucked up? Like,
Yep.
yeah, there's a number of, like, there's a percentage, and it's a decent percentage, that the reason why the owners had to put it in is there. But see as we've moved on, like, see in the last, like, 2 years, especially with the pandemic, the amount of people that were getting animals because they weren't working, and then everything got opened back up, so they've went, well, we can't take care of this anymore.
Yep.
There's nothing actually wrong with the dog. It was the owners, that they were the problem. So I think in the last couple of years, it's less about the animals being fucked up, and it's more about the previous owners being fucked up.
Exactly. That was the point I was getting towards.
Making to get into. So it's I do think that the whole, like, it's a truth, and that most people don't want to go to a shelter because they have this misconception that most dogs or animals in the shelter are there for a reason, and it's the animal's reason. But in actual fact, in this day and age, most animals are there because of the previous owner's reason.
Yeah, the failure of the owner. Yeah, that was making my way there, and you got I'm glad you picked up on it.
I'm not saying that all owners that give up the animals, it's for bad reasons.
Right.
Like, I understand that there's some cases where if someone loses a job or the thing, they physically just can't afford to look after an animal anymore, or they can't. Like, there's reasons as to why you can't, but there's also shitty reasons as to why, which is all too much now. So I just wanted to reiterate that I'm not generalising all people that give up animals, because in some cases there is no other option. Be it if you can't afford to feed the animal, you can't afford to house the animal, if you have to move for financial reasons or work reasons and you can't take the animal with you, I can understand that it's a tough decision for you, but it's one that you have to make for the better of both parties.
Facts.
But it's all too true that there is a lot of people that do it just through sheer boredom or not want to take responsibility.
Yeah, and the fact that this shelter coalition is now moving animals around so that they can be better, better exposed and better suited to maybe the area. Like you said, if the dog is off leash, isn't good on leash, they shouldn't be in a city. Like, our dog Nix she's good on a leash, but she's better off a leash. And we're doing leash training with her to get her better, but you can definitely tell that she is definitely more comfortable, more responsive, more at ease in the public spaces off a leash. But in the city, gotta have a dog on a leash. So when she's on the leash, she's out in front. She's investigating. She's looking. Like, when we take her on the trails and she's off a leash, she'll run ahead and then come back and hang with us. And then run ahead and come back and hang with us. Or if someone comes around the bend, I'll say, hey, Nix, come. She'll run over, sit down, put a leash on her, and she's fine. It's the personality, and it's the understanding the dog's mentality. And now with a shelter coalition, to be able to move dogs around with those different sort of requirements gives the dog a better chance to get adopted to their forever homes. And I think more shelters, if they have the ability to, should adopt a policy much like these ones, because not only will it raise the adoptions for dogs, but it also said they're seeing success in small animals doing it too.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So it just benefits the shelter as a whole.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was one of those stories. Like, obviously, I was on the similar site to what you used to think about that, because, funnily enough, there's so very limited sites online that share positive stories, which is really sad. Like, I think it might have to be a new addition to the website where
positive news websites
more positive news.
Yep.
Just to give it another platform, but
just post articles randomly.
Yeah. But this story definitely just.
It hits home.
It was just one of those stories where you're like, and let's be honest, we can't have one of our podcasts where one of us don't talk about an animal.
Pretty much. But to caveat, to add on before we move on to mine, I also saw there's a shelter here in the States that's doing in a sort of innovative program to get their dogs adopted too. They are sorting their dogs in Harry Potter houses. So they're recognizing the animal's traits and then sorting them into sort of like the Harry Potter houses. So the dogs that appear to be aloof and intelligent and have sort of their thing, they go to Ravenclaw. The dogs that are like lap dogs and real lovable and huggable, they're Hufflepuff dogs. The dogs that exhibit bravery and like sort of take charge attitude, they're Gryffindor dogs. And they call it Pogwarts is the program. And just in the institution of this program, they've seen adoption spike because people can recognize the quality of the dog based on their association with the Harry Potter literature and the cultural phenomenon that is Harry Potter. So their dog adoptions have gone up. I didn't read the article fully, but it said something like 15 to 20%.
Yeah,
just for one innovative program, one idea. Just sort the dogs in Hogwarts houses, and people are like, "Oh, okay, cool." That because people like
you're to have Spider-Man dogs and Iron Man dogs, and
nobody wants an Iron Man dog. Nobody wants an Iron Man dog. They drink too much. They're too arrogant. They're too arrogant. They drink too much. They're too cocky. Fuck off.
And Iron Man dogs, one of the big Bernard ones. See the Bernard that always said the cartoons always had the whiskey barrel. Yeah, that's an Iron Man dog.
Facts. So my article, much like most of my articles, center around the ocean because I am an ocean fanatic. This article talks about a new conceptual sailing vessel that, if designed correctly, can clean the ocean's waters and estuaries and coastal regions of plastic waste. Not just the big shit, but the small shit up to 10 millimeters, it says. It can harvest plastic as small as 10 millimeters. Now, that doesn't take care of the microplastic epidemic, but 10 millimeters is pretty fucking small.
It's a step in the right direction, let's be honest. Like, that's what most of these stories are, is showing that, like, it's one aspect to these positive stories that I have noticed is that everything that, like, especially the ones that you show, it's a step in the right direction. The likes of, like, the spider story or the tiger story or the...
Alzheimer's.
The elephant and rhinos in Africa story. Everything, like, even though it's not fixing it completely, it's a step in the right direction that can lead on. And I think that's why that's one of the aspects why I enjoy. Like, I know we're not supposed to, but I try and read the stories that you put up because I want to be in the situation of you sharing it and me getting that excitement of the next step in making the world better.
Right. So that next step is a solar-powered, zero-emissions research vessel and, like, seaworthy garbage collecting vessel called the Manta. Now, the Manta is the brainchild of a professional yacht racer.
What's his name?
Oh, God. Really? It is. I got this. Yves Bourgnon.
Very good. You can get an applause for that.
Golf clap. Chef's kiss. So this guy, he basically saw the movie Back to the Future, right? The third Back to the Future movie, where Doc Brown, and I'm dating myself, some of you probably don't even know the Back to the Future series, Marty McFly goes back in time, narrowly sleeps with his mother, and blinks out of existence, but manages to get away from his hot-ass thirst trap of a mother to hook his dad up with his mom, so eventually he can be born to change the future.
You know.
There's your movie. But
They call blocked his mum for bros before hose.
exactly. So in one of the in the film, the mad scientist Emmett Brown designs his time machine around the nuclear powered DeLorean. Mm-hmm. In the end, he removes the plutonium and nuclear component of the time machine to make it run off of garbage. This had an impact on Eve, and he thought of, well, if I could make a vessel that was run off of garbage, maybe I could clean the shit out of the ocean. Thus, the concept of the Manta was born. Now, it is in concept phase right now, and the article talks about what it's conceptually capable of. And it runs on a system of conveyor belts, which the way the vessel is designed, it's designed like a trimaran or a catamaran, where it's the deck is elevated above a series of pontoons, and underneath the deck there's no central hull. It's open, so the hull is on the sides on these massive pontoons, right? And as the vessel plows through the water, it funnels water down the center gullet, which runs to a series of conveyor belts, which then scoop up the plastics up to 10 millimeters. Then those go to a series of sorting belts that are sorted by onboard crew, who then throw organic matter back in, and then plastics and metals are sorted in their bins to be delivered once they reach port. But the plastic, glass and metal, not plastic and metal, the plastic material is then fed into a shredder, which shreds it up. That's fed into a heating element, which then vaporizes the plastic. And then the vapor is then fed into what they call a syn turbine, because the vaporization of the plastic creates synthetic gas. Right. That gas is then funneled into the turbine, which turns and generates electricity, therefore powers the boat to continue to clean the oceans. There's also room for research labs on how to break down plastics more efficiently. And at one point, it said, based on the concept, the prototype is supposed to hit the waves in 3 years, so 2024. And Burion believes that if 400 of these vessels were made, it could reduce the plastic pollution of the ocean by at least 33%. Holy shit! Now, the other thing that I missed is the Manta has a series of trawling nets behind it to catch bigger plastic or stuff that gets around the feeder. But the nets are only submerged about a meter, which is below sea life level. You'll only catch like a random fish or whatever when they come up to surface.
Yeah, it's more like a skimmer as opposed to fishing nets.
Exactly. It trawls on the level of it's basically the trawling nets are basically like a giant pool skimmer.
Yeah.
And they catch the surface plastic, but they're not deep enough to affect sea life for the most part. Obviously, you'll catch the random fish that...
Yeah, you can catch a random fish, and I think in the grand scheme of it, like, catching one fish in 33% of the ocean's plastic is a pretty decent trade-off, especially when you could consider that if they're only a meter, there's a higher chance that you can have someone working at the nets that if they see that the fish has been caught in it, it can be removed and kind of fed on its merry way.
Yeah, so I mean, conceptually, I'm all about it, because not only is the ship powered by the plastic and the turbines, the deck is covered by solar panels, and there are also sails and wind turbines. So the whole ship is dedicated to like a zero impact sort of kind of existence where it powers itself, it moves on itself, and all it does is take and doesn't pollute, which, again, a lot of my articles, as we highlighted, are this step forward in progress, or these ideas that, like, if are just given the light of day and the proper funding, and the greedy bastards who want to hide these technologies keep their fucking hands off it, we might be able to make some positive steps for changing our environment for the better. Because as we've highlighted between mine and your love of nature, humans aren't the only intelligent life on this planet that deserve to live.
Yeah.
And I think... Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other little bit that I just read there that I want to point out is it says that there's also room on board for a scientific laboratory allowing marine biologists and chemists to study the effects of plastic on the ecosystem. That means that not only they're cleaning the system, they're putting something in place to be able to study just where, like, figure out just how much further forward they can go in eradicating this.
Yeah, one thing the article doesn't mention, but the video does, is there's also a 200-meter squared area for educational seminars. So people can host like conferences or part like educational seminars on the ship as it cruises the ocean. So it's a learning environment as well as a research environment as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited. I mean, I love the ocean. I love scuba diving. I love sea life. I love nature in general. And to see like this and the other like things that are being done about ocean cleanliness, like the Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban invested in a company that's developing a series of robots that go out and skim ocean plastic. And then there was another company I read a couple of years ago that's investing in a series of living sponges that leach hydrocarbons from the ocean for oil spills.
Yeah. I think I read that myself.
Yeah, and then we also talked about a company that's developing an enzyme that eats hydrocarbons.
Yeah, and it's helping. And we also talked about where they discovered that amoxicillin is helping to eradicate the diseases of like the
coral
reefs and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's like all is to think that that's 4 stories that we've came out with on this podcast that show 4 very different solutions to basically one problem.
Yep.
That just shows you that if this one company's eradicating 33% over such a certain time, which I think it says it's 3 tons per hour, it can eventually suck up of pollution.
Yeah, I believe so.
So, like, if you've got this company that's eradicating 33%, and then you've got another company that's eradicating another X amount of percent, then you've got another company that's eradicating disease within coral reefs. There's another company that I know that for every sale of something that they do, they're planting seagrass that takes in something like 60% more carbon dioxide in the air than like the rainforest. That means that they are, like, again, we're at a point where the oceans can't take any more, like the coral reefs are dying and that because it can't take any more shit that we're pumping in. So, but there's like so many of these companies that are putting more out to try and give Mother Nature that fighting chance. And it's such a
man, we fucked up. Here you go.
as I keep on saying, I hope people don't use this as an excuse to continue the way they're doing. It's like, we're fixing it, so we just have to put more of this in and we can make more gas-powered cars. Like, I hope that's not the way. I hope this is a kind of point where we go, no, we fucked up before. We're not going to keep fucking up once we've solved it. Yeah. Like, this is not an excuse to continue to fuck up because we can solve it as well. There needs to be the change that these type of things don't need to be created.
Yeah, 100%. And I think all too often we talk about it all the time. The media is always gloom and doom.
Yeah.
Like, we've highlighted 4 stories that you'll never see on the news.
Oh, definitely.
Never. You won't hear about that. Or you'll hear about it anecdotally. They'll be like, oh, and then there was a thing over there. Or look at the dude in India who spent his life rowing on a boat. He's crippled, pulling plastic out of the river. Like, you don't hear about that shit ever. Because it's not sexy. And you and I are trying to make this shit sexy.
I know.
To me, this is sexy. This is about as hot as a hot woman can get. Like, you're cleaning up the oceans, you're protecting the wildlife, you're recognizing that you can make steps to eradicate Alzheimer's disease. You're finding new ways to clean up oil spills. That's like combating the human virus to me. That shit's hot.
Exactly.
And it needs more of a spotlight. And I'm glad we're doing it. Because at least if like one person that listens to this podcast or watches the video reads an article or listens to the passion of what we talk about and goes, maybe I need to read that. Maybe 10 years from now, they're the next Elon Musk. I mean, I'm not trying to brag. Like, I'm not trying to flex, but that is my hope. That is my hope. That is like, I listened to this Scotsman and this gray-haired weirdo, and they were talking about this science that's not fully theorized yet, and it inspired me to do that. I'd be like, okay, my work here is done. I'm going home.
No, exactly, and like that's the kind of point is that we, as we said at the very start, we've got ideas and plans that we have for this platform. And let's be honest, there's a lot of fucking avenues that we went down with the ideas for this platform, ranging from positive stories to streaming to fucking production, like so many fucking things. And it's like, personally, I just feel as if there's not enough of that out there. And it was like the social media boycott that I done last week. The point I made when I done it is, yes, I don't have a massive following. Yes, my voice is low, but I've got a voice.
Yep.
If everybody uses their voice, we can spark change. And the likes of like this podcast and the website and stuff like that, we're not Saturday Night Live, we're not Joe Rogan, but at the end of the day, if we can help one person a week, say, to be able to have the understanding of how to portray a better life for themselves, a better life for others, and a better life for the world, it might take a while, but it's something that's worth the time and effort. It's something that everything moving in the same direction can only be good. And the more and more people that use their very limited voice, be it, to move in that direction, it can only be good.
Yep.
And if sharing these kind of news stories or talking about toxicity, sharing what affects the depression and stuff like that, if that's what it takes to move forward, then I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah, me too.
That's how I see it, is that we're at a point now where change is needed and we all have to start trying to work together.
Facts. 100%.
And help each other in any which way we can. If it's talking absolute shite on a podcast, or laughing about having a game show at some point, or sharing videos of other streamers, then why is it a burden? Why do people deem it as a burden? Like you every time we've had the thing, you'll talk about how on the backside of stuff, I pick up everything and I'm fucking with the website and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you're kicking ass.
But at the same time, that platform for me wouldn't be there without you, because I wouldn't have had the confidence to be able. Like, I've had this idea for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, but never had the confidence to be able to push it forward. Whereas you've taken your abilities as a streamer and a performer and your confidence to be able to kind of grab me by the horn and go, well, let's fucking go.
I'm just a loudmouth asshole. That's all that is.
No, and at the end of the day, personally, I would love to have more people like you in the world. More people that take that of, I'll take you with me.
Right.
Like, we're on, we're right at the top. I'll fucking just, let's all go.
Right.
Like, if more people like that were in the world, then just imagine how much fucking better this world would be. We're all too often, it's people don't want to help other people because if other people get better success, then look at the conversation me, you, and Zim had on private call a couple of weeks ago with how I was feeling on that, about the streaming and stuff. And like that was just instilled in me that was when my mindset went of, well, what if people don't want to thing me with me because if my success or my lack of success is going to thing me. Whereas if everybody just worked together, it'd be so much fucking better. And that's the idea of like the Drunk Tank Productions that I want it to be, is that we're all in this shit showy world together. So let's all just fucking grab an oar and start sailing the same way. Just let's move together as one, because it's the only way anybody ever gets heard is if we move as one.
Yeah, there was a song that came out a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna butcher the lyric for it, but it was basically, it equates to, I would rather have 5 guys that grind with me than one fucking superstar.
Yeah,
who thinks about nothing but himself.
And like to reiterate on that with yourself, you keep on saying that I'm doing a lot of this background work in that, but you're the one that's working a full-time job, plus raising a family, plus doing a move in that, and without fail on a Sunday night, you're here to push this forward. So at the end of the day, it's not a competition on what you're grinding. It's the fact that everybody's grinding their own shit.
Yeah, we're grinding together.
Like, as long as we're all grinding and it's working for us all, then what does it matter? Like, if people want to turn around and go, oh, you only turn up and do this, but I'm doing all this stuff, I don't give a flying fuck, because to me, I appreciate the grind that you put in on your side, because a lot of the stuff that you do, I couldn't do. And in order to help me and my grind to be worth it, you're grinding to make it worth it. Yeah. And that's in turn spurring me on to go, the grind that you're making, I want to make sure that I'm fucking hitting that standard as well, to make sure that you don't feel as if you're putting in more than you should. Because if we're all hitting the same fucking tune, we'll all move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a key with the happy ending with us in particular. Because when you pitched the idea to me, it kind of smacked me in the mouth because I never thought of it. Like, I always sit there and I think about, oh, well, you know, how come you never hear about anything? And then once in a while you'll come across a random positive tweet or a positive note, and I was like, oh, I should talk about that. Yeah. And I was like, never thought to talk about it until, like, you were like, hey, at the end of the show, we need to do, like, something, like, highlight something. And it just, it smacked me in the mouth, because I was like, I was saying that shit 6 months ago, like, I should talk about it, but I never would. Yeah, and when you're like, the one thing you said is, we have to, at the end, you were adamant about, at the end, it must have a positive highlight. We have to highlight a news story. And to me, that blew my mind, because, like I said, I'm always one person who's looking for to raise stuff up, and I never thought to use my platform to do exactly what we're doing now.
And so many people don't, and like, I mean, it's fair enough, because like it's instilled in everybody that your voice is meaningless, it's no loud enough, what does it matter? So you kind of just plod along, but again, it's another aspect of, if we can make this something that shows that if you just use your voice in the right way, it can be heard and worth it. And that's why we keep on reiterating, if you're listening and you have an opinion on it, you have a thought on it, you have a story that you want to raise, you have an opinion or a topic that you think we should discuss, let us know, because we are always. I mean, before every episode, I keep on telling you about how Health Phoenix will comment on the YouTube videos,
Yeah,
and
she's
she'll
awesome
share
like that.
opinions. She'll share ideas and things that she thinks would improve, like, her experience within the podcast. And that's what we want, is we want people to engage, not just turn around. Like, you don't have to just turn around and say, oh, I agree with your opinion on this. Like, challenges if you want to. Like, give us another it doesn't even have to be a topic within that we've talked about. If there's another topic that you think you would like us to kind of shed our opinions on, let us know. We might not talk about it immediately, because, like, as we've said before, we like to be able to get informed first. So if it's a topic we've never discussed or even thought about, we'd like time to be able to kind of look at all the facts.
We don't want to talk out our ass about it.
Yeah, no, exactly, because every point that someone makes, again, as we talked about in here, we want you to feel heard and understood, and we want to be able to give you the best that we can in any topic or subject, because if we're talking half-assed, that isn't putting out the message that we want, and that people need to be more informed. So if it's a topic we don't know, we want to learn the topic. Even if we don't discuss it on the podcast, I'm still always wanting to learn new things and new opinions and new perspectives of different topics that I might not have had before. And it's the same with the actual podcast itself. As if you have any ideas or thoughts on how you feel as if things could be improved or anything like that, just share everything with us through Twitter, through the website has a contact page now. There's a lot of different things that you can get to us now, where we can listen and concoct our own
thoughts and opinions on it.
Yeah, so then we can work together towards a better future.
That being said, Chris, how and where do they get a hold of us?
Well, you can get me on Twitter at ChrisC90. Same with YouTube at ChrisC90. You can find all the episodes, apart from 10 that we couldn't get up because
that was a shit show.
For some reason, Twitch wanted to make it a 50,000 trillion gigabyte file that we couldn't do anything with. But get us on there. If the website is now in the YouTube descriptions and all the other podcast platform descriptions, get us there.
Right over there.
I go straight to our email to let us know. It's right there, right in there.
Right up fucking there, exactly.
Yeah.
So the website.
And just get in touch.
Yep, the website, www.drunk-tank.com. You can get at Twitter at ChrisC90. Get on his YouTube. Now, he is more diligent in uploading the video version of his podcast on his channel, because I just fucking been so overwhelmed. I haven't had a chance to sit down and do it, but I'm going to try and get them exporting again on a regular basis. I've just been crazy. But with me, you can get at me at Twitter at DoxRyan, on Instagram at DoxRyan, on Twitch at DoxRyan, because my branding is consistent, baby. And it goes without saying, this show, we do it because we want to do it, because we want to talk, we want to bullshit, we want to share opinion.
Yep.
But it goes a lot more if you share your opinion with us too. So feel free to reach out in any way, manner you can, and we will, in the time that we have allotted, we'll reach back out. We'll try and get to you, and if it's a topic that you're passionate about, we'll research it, and maybe it'll show up on the podcast, or maybe Chris and I will just talk to you via DMs. So,
yeah.
That being said, I think you know what time it is, Chris. Say goodbye.
Yep. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
Yep. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.